Hey, what's up, San Diego, and welcome into Gwynn and Chris, middle of the week. We are getting together for a 4-hour program. 2:01 is the time from the Odyssey Palace Studios. I'm Chris Ello. That is Tony Gwynn Jr. Matt Scraby is also along for the ride. Good show in store for you. In the middle of the week, Russ Dorsey from The Rally, a television program on the Bally Sports Network, will be with us in a little while to talk about these Major League Baseball playoffs. We will also have a round of Rate the Radio call a little bit later on in and around all of our normal segments, so we look forward to it. We remind everybody that for the first time, starting this week and including today, the show is now streamed online. You can watch us. Go to 97.3 The Fan SD on Twitter, or currently known as X. Or you can also go to 97.3 The Fan SD page on YouTube. And when you're there, make sure you subscribe, and you can more easily access Gwynn and Chris for the afternoon program. So we say hi to everybody. Everybody's looking good today. Tony Gwynn Jr., you included.
Yeah, no.
Looking better even because you've donning some new headphones.
Yeah,
after Scraby made fun of you the last 2 days about your failing headphones. You decided that that would not be allowed. That would not be one of his targets today or anymore.
He would not be able to do it for a third day.
No more. So Tony Gwynn Jr. took care of that issue.
Headphones, and I am a little bit concerned about my camera. It's not following me.
Your camera's not working properly.
It's not, but it's all right. We're gonna make it work today.
I actually did tell Chris to wave at his camera to say hello, and then it started following him. So wait, I think it's working.
And now Tony's is working. So
no, it's not.
No, it's not working.
Okay, right. We'll figure that out.
We'll get it all figured out. This is a part of the problem of a startup enterprise here.
A startup enterprise.
Yes, that is our. Well, here's the thing. For the last half hour, Scraby has been sitting in the back room basically complaining about every possible thing on earth.
This is not true.
And I was thinking about how my day's going, and I had nobody honk in the middle of my backswing today. I had nobody pick up my golf ball in the 18th fairway. I didn't play golf today. That's the reason neither of those two things happened, but both of them happened yesterday and set me off. I believe Tony Gwynn Jr. is having a nice, quiet, relaxed day.
Yeah.
So I just thought, before we get into the sports, might be better for you to unburden yourself a little bit, Mr. Scraby.
Get it off your chest.
Get it off your chest. Some of these things that are bothering you, because we got to settle in and have a 4-hour program. We can't have you holding a grudge against the world.
You're right. That would be bad.
Typically, Chris and I have to shoulder, that load that you usually let off before we come on.
Yeah.
But it just felt like today you didn't get it all out. So
today, every time we calmed him down about one thing, 2 more things popped up.
Yep.
You guys are acting like I'm some fear monger in the back of the studio back there.
I wouldn't say you're a fear monger at all. I would just say that you're having a rough day, and we're here to help.
Well, here is why it's rough.
Why is everything rough today?
So I left work or left home. And it usually takes me about 40 minutes to get here. And I type it in the little GPS, and it says you have an hour and 15 to get here. So there was an accident.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
Freeway.
When the accident happened, we had only one lane. It wasn't on the freeway, actually. It was going towards the freeway. So it was a street accident, and they had to close the street off. But what happened that really angered me was when the bicyclists got in front of us in the one single lane, and we had to go about 5 miles an hour for, I swear to God, 150 miles.
150 miles.
It seemed like that. It seemed like it. Now, should you be riding a bicycle on a street that's closed? No. I got to be careful because I have angered actual bicyclists. And if you're a bicyclist out there and you're someone who does it properly, that's fine with me. I'm willing to share the road.
Let me jump in and just agree with you for a second, Scraby. I've not yet met a bicyclist who rides their bike in the actual bike lane.
Thank you.
I've not met a single one of you. If you're a bicyclist out there, your lane that they have been nice enough to basically paint all over the city of San Diego is something that you are never in. So first message to the city of San Diego, get rid of all the bike lanes because the bike people don't use them anyway. They go ahead and ride wherever they damn well please.
You know, Chris, we are on the verge of angering a very passionate fan base of bicyclists.
I'm just
here.
telling it like it is. And if you're a true bicyclist out there, you know darn well you do not stay in your bike lane all the time. You know you don't.
There are some bicyclists that will ride, will share the road, but
Comes the cleanup artist.
It's the 75 bikes in a group that just hold up everything that really bothers me.
Okay.
All right, so that happened.
So that was one thing.
That was the beginning.
That was the beginning of
I usually
of
get
the
here.
torture.
Yes, I usually get here around like 11:30, 11:45. Got here at 12:40 today because of everything. So I was a little panicked to begin with because I hadn't set up everything. So then I try to go into StreamYard and get our live stream working.
This is where Chris and I started to get involved in Scraby's day right here.
And StreamYard wasn't working. It just kept reloading over and over. And I'm like, "Rah! Rah!" all over the place.
What is the streaming art for the people that don't know?
It's called StreamYard.
StreamYard.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
that's the
Okay,
website that we use to stream everything.
Okay. So the website wasn't working that we need to stream the show. So
Yes.
it didn't look like you're going to be able to stream the show.
No. So I run back to.
But you were not just mad at what's it called? StreamYard?
Yes.
You're not
StreamYard.
just mad at that. You were mad at the entire Odyssey Corporation. and I'm trying to figure out how you were able to focus your anger on an entire corporation for the fact that one website was seemingly down for 5 minutes.
Well, the way that StreamYard is set up is you don't have a password. So it's not like we could log in with someone's email and just share the password for everyone. When you need to log in, you get a code to that person's email. So now when I get locked out, I have to text the person to give me the code that will
first
sign
you gotta
me
say,
in.
heads up, here's a code coming your way.
Yeah, and then I gotta be hoping that,
That
they're
they're
near
available.
their phone
Yeah.
because if they're
Wow.
not near their phone, we're not getting in. Thankfully, Paul was near his phone today and he
Shout
helped
out to
me
Paul.
out. But this whole thing, I love the streaming. I do. I think it's fun. I think it's different for our show, and you get to see me be a crazy person on the cameras. But why can't I just have my own account?
And he was
man?
on the cusp, ladies and gentlemen, of really
Leaping
losing.
off
Yeah,
the
he was
board.
on the cusp.
Yeah, it's
Thankfully-
a good thing the windows don't open here on the 6th floor because he could have been out on the ledge.
I almost threw a chair through one.
Listen, I'm glad Paul answered. I'm glad he got back quickly.
Yeah,
And
thank
he
goodness
said-
for that.
Because what happens is when Scraby gets like this and it doesn't end up successful,
Yeah.
we wear it on those days.
And you know what the problem is when I tell the guys that there's something going on, they go, "Did you check the internet? Did you restart
Wait a
the
second. Is that
computer?"
me talking again? Are you doing another version of my
That's-
voice?
No, that is a mixture of you two
Because
together.
I didn't realize that I am the master of all of these different voices. Because every time you do an imitation of me, it's a totally different voice.
I think Chris knows
I
at
only
this
think
point.
I have one voice that I know of.
I think Chris knows at this point that when tech things come up, don't say anything to me because it will just make me fly off
so
the handle.
he's directing it at me now because I was the only one really talking to him at this point. And I was just suggesting things to him that would help keep him calm.
Is there internet? Yes, there's
I
internet.
did not ask you about the internet.
Did you
Chris.
restart? Did you shut down the computer? No, actually, Tony, I restarted it, updated everything like
It's not
that.
the
That's not
same
shutting
thing.
down.
That's not the same thing.
Yes, it is. It
No, it's
shuts
not.
down and then it restarts.
Restart. There's a reason why there's a restart and a shutdown.
They're different applications, right?
They're two different things, man.
Yeah.
We are getting some comments on the feed right here on YouTube about the bicyclists, and they
Mhm.
said, "I hate when they get in the turn lane like they're a dang car." So do I.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
only laughing because
you
these
think
thoughts
we're-
have crossed my mind.
We're
when I'm
going to
behind
take a lot
bikes.
of criticism for criticizing bicyclists because the bicyclists themselves are going to band together. But I will also tell you that
They're
the
like the
rest of
media.
the rest of us who are not bicyclists are going to band together on the other side of this. So
One more.
I feel confident that we'll have plenty of support.
One more. Actually, two more. Jose says, I agree that bicyclists are a delivery driver's worst nightmare. I feel for you, Jose. I cannot even imagine. And then Brock said, those in North County call the cyclists that ride to their own rules, the spandex militia. I agree with that one. 100%.
Listen.
I don't know. With what's going on in the world, that might be a little harsh right now. They're just bicyclists. All right.
I don't know if I should go off on this one too, but just because of what's going on in the world, we can have a joke with the word of militia.
And we did.
Cool.
2:11 is the time. We are getting rolling here. We're going to talk about this Phillies Diamondbacks game last night, which was a one-sided affair. So much for my premonition that the Diamondbacks would be able to carry over the momentum created late in game 1 into game 2. That did not happen. Tony said it would not happen. He was accurate. Trey Turner took care of a lot of the drama with a home run in the first inning. Kyle Schwarber took care of the rest of the drama by homering in the third and then again in the sixth. This guy's on absolute. I mean, he's hitting .219 in the postseason, but I wouldn't pitch to him.
Schwarber?
He's an automatic home run right now. And if he's not, then Bryce Harper is. JT Realmuto chipped in 3 RBIs. Aaron Nola, who had a career ERA of 8 against the Diamondbacks, turned that around with 6 shutout innings, no walks, 3 hits. The Phillies look like a world champion team right now.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if anybody can derail them.
They again, we talked about it a lot during the postseason about execution in terms of pitches. I mean, Merrill Kelly had some bad misses in those particular at bats you're talking about, and they're not. And the Phillies are in a spot right now. They're so locked in.
They're not missing.
They're not going to miss any of them. Like
no.
Sometimes those turn into foul balls. They end up not hurting you.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems like every mistake that's in the middle of the plate is getting pummeled.
Well, Merrill Kelly only gave up 3 hits. Every single one of them left the ballpark.
Yeah.
So, like
so
you
that's
said,
what he made 3 mistakes, basically.
Yeah, when he made his pitches, he was able to get these guys, and that's the way it is with most of these postseason pitchers.
Yeah.
But if you lay something in there, man, Schwarber right now is loaded for bear, and he just continues. I mean, I almost felt like he needed a do-over on that home run that only landed in the front row.
Right.
Like for him, that was like a missed opportunity. But the Phillies have hit, get this, 15 home runs in the last 4 games. I don't care what time of the season that is winning baseball. It's going to be pretty tough to beat that. The Phillies have outscored their opponents by 33 runs in 8 playoff games. That's the biggest run differential in the history of postseason. No one's ever had a run differential of plus 33 over 8 games. And the Phillies have done that. So that's what the Diamondbacks now face. And, the only other team that's been almost as hot as the Phillies, of course, is the Rangers.
Yeah.
Because they haven't even lost a game. They're 7-0, and they've outscored their opponents by 23 runs in the playoffs. They'll get tested again tonight. Game 3 of the ALCS will be in Texas.
I'm interested to see
against the Astros.
What Scherzer looks like tonight.
It'll be interesting to see what Scherzer we get. Yeah. But I don't think Bochy'd put him out there if he didn't think he was ready.
think so either. I don't think so either. I don't think especially with a guy like Chris Young at the helm, they're not going to just bring him back for the sake of bringing him back. He's going to need to be ready.
This isn't like a box office attraction.
No.
This is game 3 of the American League Championship Series.
You're on the cusp of going to a World Series here.
I can't believe Bochy would just throw him out there to the Wolves, but the Astros can make you look like you've been thrown to the Wolves if they're hitting. So we'll see about that series. A lot of people think that one's still alive, even though Texas leads 2-0. The Philadelphia-Arizona series, most people feel like that one's done, close the book, it's over after the Phillies 10-0 pummeling last night. All right, we are underway for a Wednesday. In the Gold Glove Award finalist category, we'll let you know who made the finals from the San Diego Padres. And I believe if everything goes right, Tony, one of these Padres can make Gold Glove history this season. I don't recall anybody ever having won 2 Gold Gloves in the same year because I don't believe that's something that could ever be done before.
No,
but all of a sudden, it's a chance. So we'll tell you who's the Gold Glove Award finalist and the rest of the Padres stuff when we come back. It's Gwynn and Chris underway for a Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for participating. Thanks for watching on the new stream. And thank you to Scraby for getting us on and just, comfortably and relaxingly easing us into the program in the best manner possible. It has put me in the right frame of mind to deliver a terrific show for all of you on 97.3 The Fan.
Did you know that you can now listen to all
Matt Scraby, Gwynn and Chris, finalists today in Major League Baseball for Gold Glove finalists were released today, and the Padres had 3 finalists. Well, technically 2 finalists, 3 categories, and this is what Chris was getting at with a possible first time in history it could happen, because I can't think of it happening
ever.
Ha-Sung Kim is nominated, one of the finalists for at second base. He also is one of the finalists for the utility Gold Glove.
Never heard of the utility Gold Glove before.
I think last year, maybe, or the year before was the first year of it.
Yeah, it had to start recently because there was no such thing as a Gold Glove that I recall. Gold Glove utility winner many years ago. Of course, there weren't really a lot of utility players that played a lot many years ago. Used to be if you were a utility guy, that meant you were on the bench. You know, everybody else kind of held their position.
Yeah.
But baseball's trying to keep up, you know, with the times, basically, in the way I look at it, Tony. And, you know, go ahead. I mean, a guy like Ha-Sung Kim, who played ton of second base, but more shortstop. Are you not more shortstop than apparently? Maybe they do it every now and again because last year Brendan Donovan of the Cardinals was the utility Gold Glove winner.
Okay.
But there was nobody the 2 years previous to him. And then in 2018, they gave Freddie Freeman a utility Gold Glove.
What?
Right? That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Is that
Freeman's
on Baseball Reference?
Yeah, it's in the Baseball Reference list of Gold Glove winners. Freeman only,
I can't think of him only playing first base.
I think that just maybe that's just in the wrong category.
So last year was the first.
I think last year was the first year they ever had the utility winner. Donovan in the National League, LeMahieu in the American League last year. So yeah, I believe that's it as far as Gold Glove Award winners is concerned in the utility category. So yeah, Ha-Sung Kim could be the first ever to win 2.
He's got a chance.
He could win them both. I mean, he certainly. I mean,
he started just so we. They got a breakdown of his starts in 2023. He started 98 games at second base, 29 at third base, and 16 at shortstop, and 1 DH. So those
can't win anything for the DH.
No, not with one. the other 3 combined will get you the utility spot. But along with Ha-Sung Kim I don't think this is a surprise, is Fernando Tatis Jr.
Absolutely.
He's up on the finalists with Mookie Betts, Lane Thomas. Mookie Betts also a double finalist, utility, along with Tommy Edman and Ha-Sung Kim. I think Fernando's going to win right field.
Yeah, I think he should. I mean, but again, we don't see Lane Thomas play too much outfield, but I don't think statistically, right? The numbers that they use to measure these things.
I think Fernando's
the runaway winner in that stuff.
I think he was tops in runs saved.
Yeah, runs saved and outfield assists and all of the analytical things that they use. So I think Fernando's going to win, and Ha-Sung Kim ought to get one of the 2 if he doesn't get both.
He's once again last year he was at the shortstop position, and he ran into Dansby Swanson in there. This one, he's in another tough category, right? Bryson Stott, tremendous second baseman, Nico Horner as well. I hope he gets the win out of it, but I think that's probably one of the tougher categories this year.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes on this, on the Gold Glove, because that's the good news for the Padres, is that Ha-Sung Kim is a 2-time finalist and Fernando deservingly so is 1 time. Trent Grisham's reign as a 2-time Gold Glove winning center fielder will come to an end. Brenton Doyle, Michael Harris, and Alec Thomas are the finalists in center field. So
he's got some.
Trent Grisham will not repeat.
All 3 of those guys can go get it, too.
Yes, they can. And here is the shocker. You want the shocker, Tony?
Arenado's not in play.
Arenado isn't even a finalist.
Are we
at third
sure?
base.
Is this a mistake that they made?
No, I'm looking right at it. He's not even a finalist at third base, but with Arenado out of the picture, Manny's man. I don't know a whole lot about Ryan Hayes. There is just no way you can convince me that any of the three play a better third base than Manny Machado. But they're the finalists at third base, so there you go.
Yeah,
that's the bad news.
Yeah, I can't convince you of that, but those dudes can play. Manny. I think at this point it seems like it's baked in the cake at this point. Like
that they just they're never going to give him a Gold Glove.
No, they just think that everything's got to line up. It seems like he's got to be healthy. He's got to be, all the things. Because he's a finalist. 2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago he was the finalist?
I can't remember.
Or was it last year? Because he was up for the MVP last year too.
I think he was a finalist last year.
Was it last year? Okay, one of the two. I just can't. I couldn't remember which one it was, but it seems like. And listen, if this was if we're gonna go back to the last 3 years, this was probably the year where you could see it him not being a finalist. But the two previous years, we were dumbfounded by it.
I cannot see any Gold Glove finalist category that doesn't include Manny Machado at third base. I don't see anybody that plays it better. Three guys, especially. Getting the nod over Manny. He played 138 games this year. He had 601 in plate appearances. So I don't necessarily think injury or lack of playing time is a good excuse. But if for whatever reason, Manny doesn't register in the minds of Gold Glove winning voters.
He was down in the metrics that they used this year compared to his previous years.
You watch every single game, Tony. Come on.
I do.
I mean, you hang that star out there. In fact, he makes so many plays that are spectacular that when he makes an unbelievable play, let's say similar to the one that Alex Bohm made last night, diving down the third base line and robbing Moreno of a hit for Arizona.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you look at Dave to make sure you should be giving him the star, because he has to do something worthy of a star. And for Manny, that platform is very high.
I see your point, but if Manny made the play that Bohm played,
you would give him
not
that.
Look at Dave for that.
No, you would give him that.
He would get that one easily.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, he makes so many incredible plays look easy.
We take him for granted.
That we take it for granted. So I'm going to continue to fight for him to win a Gold Glove until he gets one to add to the two he won in Baltimore 10 years ago now. Was the last time he won a Gold Glove, or 2015 and 2013 in Baltimore.
Man, 10 years since he's won a Gold Glove.
Yeah, or 8, 9 by next year.
Did he play enough games at third base to qualify?
Yeah, he played
138 games. Yeah. I don't know.
Really?
At third base.
It just seemed like it because he was DH.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But that was only the last two, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But how about Arenado not even being a finalist when the guy he's not only been the Gold Glove the last 6 or 7 years, he's been the Platinum Glove winner as the best fielder in all of baseball.
It's just further proof that you can have a down year, even at that level.
Yeah, but Manny didn't have a down year at third base. I don't know. He made every play. So congrats to Austin Riley. I've seen Ryan McMahon 100 times here in San Diego. There's just no way he's as good as Manny at third base. I
don't think he is as good as Manny, but on a year he can be.
Well, he was apparently this year. So there's your balloting.
Let's get to break. When we come back, Russ Dorsey, Bally Sports, joins us next. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Previously on the John Cantera Show.
right, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. Wednesday edition, 2:37 is the time. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby, all together in our Odyssey Palace studios. Russ Dorsey from the Rally television program on the Bally Sports Network. He's their baseball insider, talking about the success of the Phillies and the Rangers. They look like they're on a collision course to meet in this year's World Series. One thing that was interesting, Braden Soprenin brought this up at the end of his show with the coach, John Quintero, and I hadn't thought of it. But there hasn't been any competitive series yet in this postseason. The only series in which both teams have won a game, right, is the Phillies-Braves series. Hasn't everything else been a sweep? No, I think the Astros lost one to the Twins.
They did.
Right. But there hasn't been a game 5 or a game 7, with everything on the line. That drama's been missing from these playoffs so far.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I think it has. I think at least from a standpoint of this particular playoffs, the games that have been played have been close, but the actual series hasn't in some cases, right?
Like the games have been pretty good.
The games have been good games, but the team that had won the previous, it has ended up winning
the other one. Yeah.
And so that the series hasn't had the drama or has dragged out as long because of that. But
all of the fans out there have been able to get their broom emojis out on Twitter for the sweeps that keep taking place. We'll see if that happens in the AL and NLCS, which continue on here tonight. Game 3 of the American League Championship Series with the Texas Rangers home to the Houston Astros. Remember, the Astros were very, very good on the road this year. Dominant, in fact. Won over 50 games on the road. Christian Javier is pitching tonight for Houston. He's been a great postseason pitcher, but Bruce Bochy can come back with a Hall of Famer and Max Scherzer. So be interesting. They get underway about 5 o'clock. Also tonight, a little later, should point this out, the WNBA champion could be crowned this evening. The Las Vegas Aces play in New York against the Liberty, with the Aces ahead 2-1. They need to win on the road, but if they do, they will close out their second consecutive WNBA championship.
That has been the outcome that everybody predicted at the beginning of the season. This is the first, I shouldn't say it's the first, but it's one of the more recent super teams. No, I would say it's the first super team the WNBA has seen, and they are one win away from being crowned back-to-back champs.
Yeah, but I think they got a couple of their key players are injured for the Aces tonight, so a lot of people think the Liberty will force it back to a dramatic and deciding Game 5, which would be back in Las Vegas. We'll see about that a little bit later on. All right, let's get back to baseball here. Russ Dorsey does a great job for the Rally television program. We watched it almost every day in here.
We did.
When the Padres were on the Bally Sports Network.
We have sworn away Bally Sports.
Well, not totally. We got Russ Dorsey on the show.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that.
Jeez.
The only reason I say that is because we used to watch it every day and I miss it because it's a good show.
Put in the large category of things that Scraby should not say.
Yeah, that was bad.
Stick that in there.
That was bad.
And then let's get to our visit with Russ Dorsey. And talking more Major League Baseball playoffs. Very happy to be joined right now by Bally Sports and the program The Rally. Mr. Russell Dorsey joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Russ, I don't know, we're 2 games into the ALCS and NLCS, and it looks like we can start making World Series reservations. Do you see anything getting in the way now of a Rangers-Phillies World Series?
Well, I'll start on the National League side. I think we are all in agreement as a baseball industry that the Phillies are a thing, and they have that look in their eyes, and especially offensively. The fact that they have 14 homers in their last 4 games, they have 19 homers this postseason. They had 24 all of last season, and they would have played 9 more games last year. It's kind of wild when you think of this offense and how they are improved from last year. And the fact that you're getting the best out of Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos, who they basically got nothing from all of last year, and they're playing with so much confidence and flair and energy that when you have those big moments in the game, you know they're going to do something. So on that side, as fun as the D-backs have been, I thought that they would have to win 2 games at Citizens Bank Ballpark to move past the Phillies. And when you lose the Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly starts, it makes the math that much harder. And then on the other side for the Astros, I do think because they've been there 7 consecutive times, they probably have had their backs against the wall before, as we've seen on their way to winning a couple World Series titles. So it's important to win Game 3. I think this is as much must-win as you can get because you don't want to go down in somebody else's building 3-0. But I'm confident for a team that has been there and done that, they're going to play their best game tonight.
Russ, let's go back to that Philadelphia series, and Bryce Harper is one of the main guys leading the way. What would a World Series title at this point do for a guy like Bryce Harper? He's already lived up to expectation. The expectation that was gargantuan, maybe only under LeBron James in terms of time that he spent in the limelight. What does a world title do for a guy like Bryce Harper?
It cements the legacy, right? Like, to your point, it's a guy who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16 years old. Like, if he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer,
Right.
2-time MVP, it's bust, right? The guy failed, and he's done all those things. The only thing he hasn't done is win that World Series title. He got his team there last year, hitting the biggest homer of his life to seal the deal against, unfortunately, the San Diego Padres. But it was a monumental moment for his career. And I think we are seeing one of the best to do it in the biggest moments. The things that, unfortunately, we would like to see from a guy like a Mike Trout, we're seeing from Bryce Harper.
Right.
And the World Series title only cements that legacy for a guy who will be in Cooperstown one day.
What do you make of Kyle Schwarber, Russell? I mean, this guy, a 197 batting average. He seems like the ultimate analytics player, I mean, it's either strikeout or walk or home run. And in the postseason, it seems like more times than not, it's that home run. I mean, you give up a home run to this guy or 1 or 2 it seems like if you hold him to 1, you've held him down. And I just don't know what you do with a guy like this. If you're the Phillies, you ride the wave, I guess.
I think when you look at, for everybody out there looks at Kyle Schwarber, it's like you mentioned, 3 true outcomes, right? But I covered Kyle Schwarber when he was playing here in Chicago. I've gotten to know Kyle Schwarber over the years. And I think when looking at Kyle Schwarber on now his 4th team, and how he impacts winning, you can't quantify in numbers what Kyle Schwarber brings to the table. Now, obviously, you have a guy that can hit close to 50 home runs every year. That's something you can quantify. But what he brings to you from a culture standpoint, there's a reason that Kyle Schwarber has only missed the postseason 1 time in his big league career. It was 2019 when he was a member of the Chicago Cubs. That's a guy that you build around. That's a guy that's a significant leader, and it's a reason that teams wanted his services. It's a reason that the Boston Red Sox had so much success when he was there. It was a reason that the chemistry in Washington was there, even though they didn't win. And the fact that he went to a situation where he could impact winning in Philadelphia, I don't think it is a shock that the teams he's on that have success in the postseason, because the guy's a winner, right? He's just one of those guys where you say you're going to look back at the career. It might not be, it might not finish with him in Cooperstown, but you're going to say Kyle Schwarber was one of this generation's greatest winners and impacted that in a lot of different ways.
It's such a good point, Russ, because when you watch not only Kyle Schwarber, and I'm positive after being around people in the game that he has a big impact on what this team looks like when they're not in the batter's box, when they're not on the field. Like when you watch them in the dugout, this Philadelphia Philly team looks like, you hear it often that they genuinely enjoy and are pulling for one another. And it's kind of a throwback. You don't see teams that are that engaged with one another, it seems like, throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, and they're and I say this in a very respectable way, like they're like a travel ball team, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, we just gonna get off the bus, we having a good time, we hitting each other. Our coach got to tell us to focus before we go on the field because we're having that much fun. They are very much travel ball team, and you're getting the purest form of baseball out of them, and the fans know that too. That's why those crowds in Philly have been so crazy, because they've fallen in love with this Philadelphia Phillies team that started last year, and they didn't really have a lot of turnover. They actually added guys like Trey Turner to that mix, and you're seeing the best of them right now. And it's the reason that I think if they do what we think they're going to do and get to the World Series, I don't think that there's anybody this year that can beat them.
Russ Dorsey works for Bally Sports. You see him on the Rally television program. We've watched him over the years prior to Padre baseball games, and he joins us here. Let's take a look at the Rangers, and we've talked plenty about the Astros over time, and Yordan Alvarez continues to be remarkable, but the Rangers are led by Corey Seager, who himself is a World Series MVP. I don't know that he gets the same cachet as some of these other guys right now, but somebody's leading this Texas team on the field, because we know off the field it's Bruce Bochy. I mean, he's working his magic again, and I wonder what you feel from afar covering Bochy and maybe getting to know him some during the games, what you feel is the reason or what works and it makes his magic tick.
I'll start with on the field, then I'll get into the dugout with Bruce Bochy. I think when you invest $500 million in Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, you have a plan that these two guys are going to be the centerpiece of what we do as a ball club, right? You give Corey Seager $325 million, you give Marcus Semien $175 million, and you say, all right, Marcus, you're going to be that leader, that guy in the clubhouse that guys can go to, the lead by example type of guy. Corey Seager, not really a big vocal guy, not really the rah-rah guy, just going to go out there and he's going to hit 315, going to hit 35 homers, drive in over 100, get 180 base hits. And honestly, guys, if it wasn't for the fact that he missed 40 games with a variety of different injuries early in the season, we could be talking about him, winning AL MVP over Shohei Ohtani. And so they've had those two guys lead the way for them. You get Adolis Garcia that has a career year. Nathaniel Lowe actually had a down year, but that was a guy who had a breakout for them last year. You get, Josh Young, who was in the running for AL Rookie of the Year before he got banged up. And then you add a kid in Evan Carter, who was a top 100 prospect, just got called up a little bit over a month ago, and is seeing all this for the first time. His first real taste of the big leagues is in the biggest stages in the sport. And that's a moment that can, get to a lot of guys. A lot of guys can't handle that, and he's rising to the occasion. And then I think when you look in the dugout, once you add all those players in like Seager and Semien, you say, who's going to be the guy to take this ball club to the next level? And I know there are a lot of people out there that don't necessarily feel like the manager has a lot of impact on how a team performs, but to have a guy in Bruce Bochy that has been there, that has done that has been in those big moments, that has been the leader of a team that's won 3 World Series titles in San Francisco with the Giants. And it's walking into a situation where like, all right, we have the pieces. We've invested the money. Now we need to go out there and do it. You're seeing a Rangers team where it wasn't always pretty throughout the season. They were the best team in baseball for about 5 months. And then for the last 2 months, we didn't know if they were going to make it to the postseason. And now that they're there, they're looking like the team that we all expected them to be.
Yeah, you look across the Final Four, all of the teams' personalities match their manager's personality. And that brings me to the other side of the field and Dusty Baker and the Houston Astros. I mean, you mentioned it before, this team has been in it 7 straight times. I don't think they'll blink. Why is it that I think everybody feels like this series is not over?
Yeah, I think that experience is invaluable, especially this time of year. Sometimes I do feel like we throw age around, oh, this is a young team. We did it with the D-backs, and the D-backs were smoking everybody until they ran into a buzzsaw in the Philadelphia Phillies. But I think it is important for a team that has been in these moments, especially when their backs are against the wall, right? It's not comfortable being down 2-0. But knowing that, all right, we got a couple World Series in the tuck. We've been there 4 times in the last 8 years. We should be feeling really good about where we are, because this Rangers team, it's been a long time since they've been in these moments trying to get back to the World Series. If you're Alex Bregman or if you're Jose Altuve, you've been here before. You had your back against the wall before. And for guys like, Kyle Tucker, right, Chas McCormick, Yair Diaz, like all these guys Jeremy Pena, you got to grow up in this culture where even though you're younger, you now feel that same confidence and energy because it's been a culture of winning. And I think they are a team, because they have that experience, they're not going to get flustered. I would be very shocked if they got swept by the Texas Rangers. I just have a hard time believing that happened. But they have some guys that they haven't gotten their best from. I think the world of Kyle Tucker as a player, but they haven't gotten their best out of Kyle Tucker. Jose Altuve, same thing. Those guys combined for 6 for 47 through the first 2 games of that series. You need a lot better from that if you want to advance to the World Series.
Russ Dorsey, great stuff from Bally Sports, the television program, The Rally. And last thing, Russ, from afar or even from a close, because I know we've seen you out here in Southern California, what did you make of this Padres season of failure? And what do you make of what you think they should do, what would be best for this ball club moving forward? Obviously, they've made the decision to bring back AJ Preller and Bob Melvin. They got some free agents they have to worry about, but what do you think about the direction of this team? Can they bounce back and put this year behind them with a big season next year?
They were the biggest enigma in baseball to me, where I, for the longest time, said they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. They're too talented. They're too talented. As you guys did there watching in San Diego.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
This team is far too talented to be playing the way that they are. And you can only do they're going to turn it around. They're going to flip the switch for so long before you look up, and it's September. And even in September, they had a mathematical shot to get into the postseason there at the end before they didn't. I still look at that team and I say, on paper, let's say you run this last season back 100 times. I don't think you have the same result, the same thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
However, it did happen. And I think having the messaging has to be the same, right? I think there needs to be, everybody has to be on the same page. And I think this is the last shot for this group. Now, who they add in the offseason, you have, Blake Snell, who is going to be the NL Cy Young winner, who was fantastic all year. Will he return? Will he go somewhere else? That's a big question. That's a big loss if Blake Snell, leaves and goes somewhere else. So they have some questions. They are still extremely talented. You still have the big boys there for you that should be able to carry you. But at the same time, this is their last shot. Like, if I have a hard time believing that you continue to run it back if it doesn't work over the first 4 months of the 2024 season.
Well, we will all hold our breath here in San Diego and hope it works out next time around. Russ, we appreciate the time. It's always great catching up with you. It's great meeting you last year at the winter meetings, and hope we get a chance to see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of the baseball playoffs, and thank
you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ.
Russ Dorsey from the Bally Sports Network, the program, The Rally. You can watch it on the Bally Sports Network. He's a baseball insider and good stuff, especially thought his comments on Kyle Schwarber were good. I didn't realize Schwarber, was that good in terms of being on playoff teams every single time. And there's something to be said for guys like that. I don't know exactly what they do or exactly how they go about things. But when you talk about a leader, that's the kind of guy you want in your clubhouse. You don't know exactly what he does, but it must be right.
Everybody I've ever talked to about Kyle Schwarber says the same exact thing. He's just like a normal dude, loves baseball, but is about that team kind of feel. And when you think about all the teams he's been on, Cubs,
Phillies, Red Sox, Nationals, and they've all been good.
They've all done well when he's there.
Yeah, when he's there, they win. And the Phillies are winning with him right now. Phillies will be facing Brandon Pfaadt, the rookie, in Game 3 of that NLCS. Manager Torey Lovello confirmed that today. But today it's Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. Still a couple of hours away, which gives us time to delve into our daily gambit and other things next.
I'm going to move on from this as fast as possible.
Number 2. It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports. Yes! With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwynn and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Into the 3 o'clock hour, we roll. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby, Daily Gambit coming your way here shortly. Lots of news today in sports as we start to get closer and closer to, was it week 6? Week 7.
Week 7.
Week 7 of the
Yeah,
NFL.
we got 6 in the books already.
Week 7 in the NFL.
It's going quick.
The NBA season tips off next week. We just got the NHL popping this past week. Or this week, right? Was that Monday we were watching that? Or was that last week?
I think it started late last week.
Late last week.
Yeah.
All right. So
NBA next week.
NBA next week. Speaking of NBA, James Harden, as good of a citizen as he was in camp,
Quite the guy.
he has decided he was going to go home for a couple of days.
He's decided to go back to being the other James
I
Harden.
can't with this guy. I can't. He shows up to practice last week and he's like all about the team and then he just goes home. I can't. I'm sorry.
I mean, we saw
I-
this.
I just-
saw this coming though. He did make a point his first day speaking to the media to say his relationship with Daryl Morey was not repairable, and that only leads to one thing, which is this: he is going to make it as uncomfortable and as difficult for everybody as possible until at least he tries to force his way about it.
I'm going to give a camera eye roll for all those people who haven't seen it yet.
I think he is in for a long ride. I don't think Daryl Morey is going to give in to this unless he gets exactly what he wants.
I don't like to agree with Scraby for the second time in less than an hour. And we agreed on the bicycle and annoying riders earlier. But I'm going to agree with him again. One time I would like to see a player hold a franchise hostage and the player have to pay some sort of penance for that, which is to just not play. I know it's not likely because the franchise is kind of dumb to do that. They should get something for James Harden and do what's best for their own franchise. But what's best for me personally is just to kind of cut James Harden loose. I'm tired of his act. So there I go, agreeing with Scraby for a second time in 60 minutes. Put that down on tape or on DVR.
It's here forever.
Yeah.
Somebody can always go back and listen to the time.
Yeah,
Put
you
that down on
agreed with
lithograph.
Scraby. Yeah.
The Jets made a move today. They traded Hardman. What's his first name?
McCole Hardman
McCole.
goes
Hardman.
right
Really?
back to Kansas City.
He is back where he once was, where he had his most success.
I think it's a pretty good move by the Chiefs.
It's a great move by the Chiefs. You wonder.
I don't know what the Jets are thinking. I mean, maybe they weren't using Hardman, but why give him back to Patrick Mahomes, who knows how to use him?
who's in the side of your conference too, by the
Right.
way.
I mean, you're going to have to get through this team. I mean, the Chiefs have been without wide receiver weapons so far this year. I mean, Kelsey's been getting it done pretty much on his own. I'm not going to say Hardman's going to come in there and start catching 14 passes a game, but
It's a familiar
he's a
target
guy
for
that
Mahomes.
Mahomes is very familiar with, knows how to get him the ball. I would not have done that if I was the Jets. I would have thought of something different.
It
but-
just goes to show you how different things changed once. I'm gonna keep almost calling him Brett Favre until Aaron Rodgers got hurt. Because you have to think if Aaron was around,
McCole Hardman would be being
ball
used
would
by the
be-
Jets.
Yeah, it'd be spread around a lot more.
Yeah.
But that has not been the case.
Zach Wilson can't even get the ball past the line of scrimmage to these poor guys.
Go. What do you got, Scrape? You look like
The Zach Wilson haters, I don't know why I want to stand up for this guy so much, but I don't think he's played nearly as bad as everybody is saying he's playing.
Who's worse, him or Mac Jones? Mac Jones, easy.
Yes, easy. That is
Who's worse,
He's
him
setting
or
you up
Brock
right
Purdy
now. I
last
just looked it up.
Sunday?
Brock Purdy.
Really? Brock Purdy's worse last Sunday than Zach Jones.
Zach Jones doesn't exist,
I'm
but
not
Mac
sorry.
Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson won the game.
Yeah, brilliantly. Yeah, I think he threw for about 6 yards on Sunday against the Eagles.
It doesn't matter. They won the game.
Okay.
Mac Jones can't win games for his team.
Maybe the 49ers ought to trade for Zach Wilson and replace Brock Purdy.
What do you think, Surabe?
After last week, might as well.
Yeah,
You're such a supportive fan to your quarterback who had one bad game and some pretty huge extenuating circumstances to boot, and you're like already ready to give up on the guy.
Don't tell Micah Parsons that, because we'll get into him in the Big Five, because he thinks that everybody's out to get the Cowboys.
Huh, somebody sounds like somebody I know.
What else
Are you talking about me?
Huh? Let's get to David Gambit.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo!
If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Everybody, please gamble responsibly. Now, we had some bets that we made yesterday, and then we'll get to Chris for his bets for tonight. And we're going to start with the Bryce Harper home run was plus 425. And we were saying basically because he's hot, that might as well bet on that. We all said yes, he's going to hit a home run, but the answer was no, he did not hit a home run. Surprisingly, in a large, how many runs did they end up scoring?
A lot.
10-0.
10-0. Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't need him last night.
No, they definitely didn't.
It's almost funny. The Phillies are so good right now. Harper knows the night that he doesn't really need to hit one. And he just kind of lets Schwarber and the rest of the guys do the damage.
The Phillies minus 1.5 on the run line last night. Chris and I said the Diamondbacks. Tony said the Phillies, and the Phillies won.
Yeah, that was
mightily.
embarrassing.
So.
I mean, I went out of my way yesterday to say that I thought that the Diamondbacks would carry over the momentum from late in game one and into game two. And I thought, it looked good for the Diamondbacks to get even. Tony said they basically have no shot in that stadium because Citizens Bank Park is impossible for anybody to win there in the playoffs. And the Trey Turner home run put Arizona out of it early. But the other thing is, and I'm going to bring it up again, Corbin Carroll led off the game one and game two. He got on base both games, and both times he stayed put. He did not try to steal, and I just think that was a mistake.
I have to believe that is his own decision. I can't believe that Torey Lovello
said, "Hey, don't try
all
it."
Season long allow those guys to just run amok, and then all of a sudden say, "You know what?
I'm not blaming Torey Lovello. I'm blaming whatever happened." But to me, if you're a running team, you got to say, "Hey, we're going to do what we do best, and if you throw me out, good for you." But Corbin Carroll sat there for both game one and game two, and I just thought it sent the wrong message.
Yeah, it didn't stop Bryce Harper from trying to steal. He got thrown out. I mean, this is you be who you are.
Yeah,
in this time.
And the Diamondbacks did not do that. We'll see what happens in game three tomorrow.
I mean, doesn't that mean they just need to be more aggressive now that they're down 2 games?
I'm sure it becomes easier to be aggressive because now you're down because you're kind of like, what do we have to lose?
Yeah,
caution to the wind.
Yeah. Exactly. Aaron Nola, under 15.5 outs last night. Chris said under. Tony and I said over, and he was over. He had 18 outs.
6 pretty good innings. My goodness.
Yeah. Merrill Kelly, 4.5 strikeouts, over under on the game. Chris said over. Tony and I said under, and Chris was correct. He had 6 strikeouts in the game.
The Avalanche didn't come until the 6th, though. He was able to stack a couple strikeouts up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about our next bet. Avalanche.
The Colorado Avalanche.
No, you're right.
The Avalanche of runs came after.
Yes. The Avalanche were minus 1.5 on the puck line, and Chris chose Seattle. Tony and I chose the Avs, and the Avs won 4-1. So
the Avs are off to
the
a nice
Kraken
start.
Are not working for you in your bets, Chris.
No, I thought Seattle would. They needed a win last night, and Colorado's off to a 3-0 start. So they've won them all on the road. They've looked really good.
The Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars last night. Total goals in the game over under 6. Chris said under. Tony said over. I said over. and we were all wrong. Or actually,
Chris was
Tony
right.
and I were wrong.
Yeah.
Chris was right because it went under. They scored 5 combined goals.
Yeah, actually they scored 4. I don't know how they worked because the 5th goal was tallied in a shootout.
Ah,
So I don't know, like in the NHL, if you bet over under on goals, if they count the shootout goal that is awarded to the team that wins the shootout. I don't know if that counts or not.
I should look into that.
Got to look into that because there was 4 goals actually scored in the Vegas.
But they gave him one more for the
But you
shootout.
get one for the winner of the shootout. So they said
that's how that works.
yeah, they say the final score is 3-2, but there's really no goal actually scored.
Do they not tie anymore?
There's no ties in
There's no
hockey.
ties,
No
yeah.
more ties.
All
Yeah, you
right.
play a 5-minute overtime, 5-minute overtime, and that is played 3-on-3, which is kind of fun to watch. They just go up and down the ice.
Wait.
They take 2 guys off of each team
They're in overtime?
during overtime, and they play 3-on-3 in the regular season only.
How long has that been going on?
About
A couple of years?
4 years.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. And then if nobody scores, then they go to a shootout to determine the winner.
We are getting on the stream that it's usually just for regulation time for the hockey.
Yeah. So the over-under in that game was really 4 goals.
Yeah.
Was scored because the shootout doesn't count.
So either way, Chris,
either
you
way.
win.
Yeah, either way.
All right, what do you got for tonight?
All right, here we go tonight. We've got 3 different sports to deal with. Let's start with college football. The Wednesday night special. Here's your guys, Sam Houston
I
State.
can't stand them anymore.
They're home to Florida International. Now, Sam Houston State is 0-6.
Yes.
They haven't won a game. They are favored by 5.5 points over Florida International, a team that is 3-4 overall, but has lost all 4 of its conference games. So these are 2 really, really bad teams, and I love when these kinds of games take place. All right, Scraby.
Oh, great. All
Bad
right.
teams, we'll start with you.
Is Florida International the Panthers?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That does not mean you're going to get
No.
put a good bet.
No, I'm
down
just
there.
trying to put the logo in my head.
Okay, well, that's
I mean,
important.
Sam Houston State has been so bad. I'm going to take FIU.
Take FIU, take the points. All right. I'm going to take the points also. My strategy is when there's 2 bad teams,
It's going to be close.
it's going to be close and low scoring, so take the points. But, Tony, I'll leave it up to you.
Yep. We're all going.
We're all going to go
Take
with
the points on
FIU.
this
We've
one.
seen enough of Sam Houston
Yes, we
State.
have.
All right. WNBA Championship Series Game 4 in New York. The Liberty are favored by 6 points over the Las Vegas Aces. The Aces are trying to wrap it up, but trying to do so without 2 key players on the road. Las Vegas trying to become back-to-back champions. New York trying to force a Game 5. I think New York's going to force a Game 5. I think the injuries are going to take their toll on Las Vegas, and I think the Liberty win, and win by more than 6. Tony.
I'm going Aces.
Going to take Las Vegas.
going
Get your
Aces.
points. All right. You got them.
I feel like they've played. They're the only 2 teams in the WNBA.
It's really interesting. I'd have to look it up, but they played like the regular part of their schedule.
Yeah.
They also played each other in the Challenge Cup,
Yeah.
whatever that was, 3 or 4 times. They've also played in the play. It does seem like these 2 teams have played like 40 times.
I don't think I've ever got a bet
They
right
have
either.
the 2 best rosters.
Yes, they
in the
do.
league.
Yes.
They're the 2 super teams.
But
of
it
the
seems
league.
like Lakers and Celtics still only play each other a couple of times during the season. They don't play like 14
true.
games. Anyway, who do you have, Scraby?
I'm gonna be
tough.
wrong. So
You've been wrong
whoever I
all year.
pick,
I mean,
All right.
we
It's
expect
gonna
that from you.
lose.
So
All right.
I'm gonna say the Liberty.
All right. Well,
the
thanks.
Liberty.
I need to win that one. I didn't want to lose. All right, on to the baseball game. Astros and Rangers, Game 3 in Texas. 9 runs is the over-under total for this game. And I believe it is Tony's turn to go first.
Under.
Under.
No, I think he said under.
Oh, he said under. Let me
Unfortunately.
spell it correctly.
Unfortunately.
Scraby, what about you?
Scraby.
9 runs.
I think it's gonna go over.
Over. All right.
No, over.
Okay.
He's not playing this game with
I know
me,
he
so-
really isn't. He's not even giving in.
playoff games are normally under, and I've been going over the entire postseason and been wrong, so I'll go under this time.
All right.
And one more in the playoff game tonight, because I think it's interesting to see just how well do you think Max Scherzer is going to do. Over under for him is to record 13 and a half outs, which means he'd only need to get 2 outs in the 5th inning to go over. Right? 4 2/3 innings would be 14. That would put him over. He doesn't even have to pitch 5 complete innings. Scraby, do you think he'll do it? Scherzer tonight, coming off injury, facing the vaunted Astros, who are trying to keep their season alive.
I think he goes under.
Under.
Yeah.
Scraby says no for Scherzer tonight. I'm going to go over. I'm going to have faith in Max Scherzer to gut out 5 innings against the Astros.
He's got 5 in him. He's got 5
Tony
on it.
says he's got 5.
He's got 5.
Going over.
Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
over.
By the way,
I was going
Yeah.
to say, by the way, the Aces and Liberty played each other 5 times during the regular
That's
season.
it?
Yeah.
It seems
We must
way
have bet
too-
on every one of them.
Because I feel like
We
they
did.
played every day.
Yeah, it seemed like they played every day. I agree with you. Tony is 5-3 so far this week. Scraby and Chris are 3-5 so far this week. So
not
Tony's
good.
got the early edge. There's a lot of betting left.
Oh, yeah.
Scraby.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot of gambling left out there. All right.
Let's get to break. When we come back, more Gwynn and Chris on the way. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored
of the ALCS. Christian Javier versus Max Scherzer. Should be a good one tonight in Texas. Scraby, during the break, your antennas were up again in terms of the Padres. Not really in terms of the Padres. Actually, your antennas were up in terms of the Gigantes.
I want to thank Andrew Baggerly for this.
Yeah, me
personally.
Too. Me too.
Wherever you are, Andrew Baggerly, and Scraby will explain to everybody who he is. I want to thank you for putting this out there so that Scraby could waste our time with this notion.
I don't think it's a waste of time at all, guys.
I know you don't.
Andrew Baggerly writes for The Athletic that the Giants have a lot of work to do in the offseason, and one, if not the most important thing in the offseason, would be for them to find a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And they fired
So they're
Gabe
just going to go
Kapler.
get somebody who's under contract coming back to another team.
Here's the thing that Andrew Baggerly writes.
What did he write?
He said, here's the quiet part out loud. This is a quote. It makes little sense for the Padres to fire Melvin and pay out his roughly $4 million salary when another team could hire him away and relieve them of that obligation. Padres are also within their rights to ask for compensation from an NL West rival if the Giants request permission to speak with Melvin. So they can parlay this into a trade.
And why would the Padres want to get rid of him so badly? Do they have somebody better in mind?
No, but
they don't. So there's your answer. Why would the Padres even remotely entertain getting rid of Bob Melvin after they've already said they're bringing him back? They're going to look like dummies.
We'll wait.
We're going to look like dummies.
Yeah. I mean,
well, here's
AJ Preller went out and told everybody Bob Melvin's coming back as my manager.
And Bob
Melvin confirmed it. So
Have
why does everybody keep
actually-
writing articles? Have we actually what? Bob Melvin
literally was
texted Bernie Wilson and said, I will be back as manager next year. I don't understand how this guy, Andrew Baggerly, or people like you reading these articles can continue to think that Bob Melvin is going to be manager of the Giants. Now, you can put this on tape if you'd like, so that the day that Bob Melvin becomes manager of the Giants, you can play it over and over. And and I'm sure you will, but I'm really not too concerned that that'll ever happen.
Well, Bob Melvin has never officially said yet that, like, I haven't heard from his voice. He hasn't spoken to the media about it.
Told you?
Yes,
he just texted Bernie Wilson about it.
He was later in an article the very next day, an AP, he's quoted in it, saying there's unfinished business, all that and the other. Yeah, man.
I just don't know that all of the stuff that we read.
TMZ and you right here.
I just don't know that all of the stuff that we have read throughout the maybe last month of the season or maybe last 2 weeks of the season. I just don't know that that's all like fake and it's just all smoke.
They don't all have to be fake in order for him to return. All those things that were written could be true, and he still could return. And he still is returning.
And he's still under contract to return. And it has been told everybody by the general manager, who is his boss, that he's returning.
And the man himself.
And the guy himself says he's coming back. These guys are all going to look like fools. AJ Preller, Bob Melvin, and me. And Tony. They're all going to look like fools if he ends up in San Francisco. I don't see how this is going to happen. And you keep saying, like Andrew Baggerly writes, well, the Padres could trade and get somebody, but they don't want to get rid of him. So I mean, why is this even an option?
I think because there are currently, because we've exhausted our options here in town with the media and what they found out from this. But I do believe Andrew Baggerly is a legit writer. He writes for The Athletic. He's a good writer, and I don't think he's writing something if there's just nothing there.
The most hilarious part of all of this is to walk in this afternoon on Scraby and Adam Klug together in the back office, deliciously going over the possibilities of this article. And this Andrew Baggerly, he knows everything. He's a genius. This guy's the great. I mean, Adam Klug, our program director, is on record as saying, until the Giants hire a manager, then he's going to believe Bob Melvin's leaving. And I said, have at it.
See, I'm not that
Go
far.
ahead and believe that.
I remember telling him that he was dead wrong when he said that.
I know.
And he has since, by he, I mean Bob Melvin, has since talked to Bernie Wilson. He's talked to, I think he talked to Kevin Acee the following day. think it was his article that had his quotes in it. And Scraby is now, I think, moved ahead of Adam in terms of
No,
his
no one could be ahead of
conspiracy
Adam. Are you kidding?
possibilities.
I think he's moved ahead.
No one could be ahead of Adam.
You just did, buddy.
No, we were having a good conversation, and you know what? He actually did open my mind to this possibility. I don't want Bob Melvin going anywhere. I will say it a million times, but
Listen, he can open your mind to the Matrix for all I care.
the Matrix.
All right.
And you kind of do want to see it happen now.
No,
because
no.
you would have one of the all-time "I told you so"s in the history of this show.
I don't want that to be an "I told
If
you
he
so." though.
leaves.
You do.
No, I don't, because that
It'd
would
be
be a
good
bad
radio.
thing for the Padres and for Padres
It
fans.
would be bad for the Padres. I agree, but it'd be good radio. And I think you would like that.
You guys would just continue to be like, well, you don't believe in this team. You said you want Bob, like 10 years from now. Remember that time you wanted Bob Melvin out of San Diego? That's what you guys are going to say.
I hope we're on in 10 years.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, Big Five on the way.
Nope.
No, that Big Five.
Rate the radio
Rate
call.
the radio call. Rate the radio call on the way. More with Chris.
John Quintero on the Fan.
Go. .335 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. Rate the radio call on the way. Deshaun Watson continues to be out for the Cleveland Browns, and now all of a sudden no timetable after a micro tear in the shoulder.
Excellent news for Browns fans. PJ Walker's 1-0, knocked off the best team in football.
He did.
So leave Deshaun Watson on the bench where he belongs.
PJ
Cleveland.
Walker, the 49er slayer.
How bad is how bad has Deshaun Watson been for Cleveland? I mean, what did they pay? 200 something mil. I mean, they not only paid a king's ransom for him, they sold their soul as an organization to get him. And all they've gotten in return is basically a mess.
5 years, $230 million.
Guaranteed, right? Or most of it's guaranteed.
Most of it.
All.
Yeah, it is all actually.
All
guaranteed.
And don't forget that the Browns did him a favor last year, and they paid him less than $1 million, so his fines from the NFL were very small.
Well, I mean, to me, selling your soul is even worse than giving all that money away.
He's making yearly cash. It says $46 million.
Yeah, Browns deserve better. Their fans deserve a whole lot better than this. I mean, like I said before, I have two people from Cleveland in the complex where I live, and they're both no longer Browns fans, and they're serious about that. They're not just like kicking it around. They really will not root for the Browns as long as Deshaun Watson is anywhere near that franchise. And maybe that's harsh, but that's the way some people feel anyway.
Hadn't stopped the Browns yet. So that's the thing that ultimately is going to have to get their attention. Like, hey, you're losing fans because of the decisions you're making.
No,
but
fair point.
The other quarterback who, better news, Kyler Murray returns to the practice field this week after being sidelined last year with a torn ACL. Will he play this week? I think it's unlikely. It sounds like Dobbs will continue to hold Josh Dobbs will continue to hold the quarterback position down for the Arizona Cardinals, but probably pretty good news for the Cardinals at this point, getting a pretty good quarterback back.
How much longer before these guys tear their ACL and they're back in like 6 months instead of, because this was 300 days ago now for Kyler Murray. It used to be well over a year for a torn ACL. Now it's under a year. And that's all because of the technology, the technology and improvement and everything. And, the doctors and the ability to operate on these, situations and do it better so they can come back sooner.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty about modern medicine is that it keeps advancing, and these surgeries, whether it's an ACL or an Achilles or whatever it is, they're finding better ways to do it. They're finding different ways to do it that sometimes require less rehab.
And I know you don't think Aaron Rodgers can come back, but if he does somehow come back, it's going to set the table for a lot of other guys.
I will say this. I don't buy him like throwing passes on the field and as that being like a
he didn't actually pick up his leg either.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He was still dragging. But the mere fact that he's walking this early without crutches. I mean, my wife tore her Achilles. I remember my dad had Achilles. Like, there was no like walking around this soon. Like if you were moving around, you were literally hopping around, or you got one of those in-home scooters that you lay your leg on, and nobody I know that has walked that quick now. So listen, I don't think he'll make it back in order to play some football, but where he's at right now certainly seems like it's pretty impressive.
Jalen Ramsey's back at practice as well. So the Dolphins.
Saw that.
He injured his left meniscus on July 27th. So 2.5 months ago, he was otherwise in a previous world done for the season.
Yeah.
Instead, here he is in week 7, starting to practice. Dolphins say he's not going to play this week against the Eagles, but might not be too much longer before he's on the field.
Yeah.
So
it truly is awesome to see the advances we've come with it in modern medicine. All right, let's get 3:40 on the clock. We got some traffic. Then we got Rate the Radio Call.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Got a handful of problems here. Southbound 125 before Spring Street, collision over the right shoulder. Also traveling on southbound 15 at Claremont Mesa Boulevard. There is a stalled car in the center divide. Heading up the coastline, northbound 5, just before the racetrack, a collision involving a couple vehicles that's been moved over to the right shoulder. And Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
From the really, really good
Back to the wall. It's gone. Home run, Garvey, and there will be tomorrow.
to the really, really bad.
Uh-oh, wide open.
He throws, it's caught. Nixon streaking down the sideline to the 20. Gets a block from Chase and runs it into the end.
We got some radio calls. Gwynn and Chris are going to rate them.
Right-handed hitter back in there. Strasburg ready to go.
It's Rate the Radio Call.
The 1-2 pitch slider, strike three, ball, a no-hitter.
On 97.3 The Fan.
Oh, rate the radio call. If you're watching on the cameras, we all just mouth the words to each play-by-play call there. My favorite, obviously, Bengals guy. Chris, we have a call from Ryan on the stream. He says 49ers and Dolphins Super Bowl. What do you think about that?
Well, if the Dolphins are in the Super Bowl, I'd be happy with that.
Okay. Just getting crushed by the
49ers were in the Super Bowl. I would not be happy with that part.
You would be happy if they lost in the Super Bowl to the Miami
The
Dolphins.
Dolphins have been waiting over 40 years to get back at the 49ers for the beatdown they suffered in Super Bowl 19.
I'll be a Dolphin fan that day.
I know you would be.
All right, let's get to it. I bring some calls from the last week or so, radio calls, and then the guys rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. We're going to start with Colorado State. They were playing Boise State football, and Boise was up 30-24 with just 6 seconds left in the game. Colorado State has the ball, and they are on the Boise State 32-yard line. So here is that call.
Should be the final play of the game. Shotgun snap. Fowler Nicolosi steps up, throws deep in the end zone. Here's the jump ball. Knocked down.
Yes!
No! It's gone! Holker! He was on the ground! Yes, sir! Dallin Holker! The shoestring catch! And we're tied at 30 apiece with no time on the clock!
So he was very excited. Chris, you're up first. 1 to 10, rate that radio call.
Not my favorite call. Scraby.
Okay.
Give it a 5.
A 5? Why?
I didn't like it. I know he was depressed at the beginning of the call because he felt like the game was over. But I think you got to have a little enthusiasm for the final play of the game and say, hey, they're going to launch it into the end zone. And I couldn't go from cold to hot as fast as he went. It just was too big of a jump for me. From complete, total, utter depression to screaming at the top of his lungs, which is not my favorite thing, even in an exciting moment like that.
Tony, 1 to 10, rate that radio call.
Can I hear it one more time?
Yes, you may. Here we go.
Should be the final play of the game. Shotgun snap. Fowler Nicolosi steps up, throws deep in the end zone. Here's the jump ball. Knocked down.
Yes!
No! It's gone! Holker! He was on the ground! Yes, sir! Dallin Holker! The shoestring catch! And we're
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
with no time on the clock!
He really gets into
He got
that one.
WWE on me. At
Oh,
the end
yeah,
there, for
he
sure.
did.
Well,
Well,
what
he didn't know
was-
what the heck was happening.
It
So.
almost sounded like the color guy took over as the play-by-play guy. It was weird.
He hopped in there for a
He
second.
did.
And
He
the
said it was
voices-
batted down.
Okay.
The play-by-play guy said
He
it
said
was batted down.
down. No, it wasn't.
It was caught for a 5-point rating on Rate the Radio Call.
I'm gonna give him a 7.
All right.
7?
Give him a
Okay.
little higher.
All right. Washington and Oregon played over the weekend, and this one came down to the end as well. It was Washington leading the Ducks 36-33. However, the Ducks did have a field goal attempt here with 4 seconds left. am trying to see where they're at on the field, but I'm not sure
It's
how.
about a 40-something yarder, maybe 45 yarder.
All right, so the Ducks have to make this to tie the game. Here it is, Washington radio.
This from 42. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on the way. Kick is up. End over end kick is no good. He missed it. He missed it wide right. He missed it wide right. I don't believe it, Cam. I don't believe it. It's pandemonium at Husky Stadium. You're not keeping him off the field here. Washington 36, Oregon 33 in a classic.
All right, Tony. 1 to 10, rate that
I need
radio
to hear
call.
that again. It felt intentional. Every time the play-by-play guy got himself together to talk, my man was like, yeah, like right as he's getting ready. So I got to hear it one more time.
Whoops.
This from 42. Good snap, good hold. Kick is on the way. Kick is up. End over end kick is no good. He missed it. He missed it wide right. He missed it wide right. I don't believe it, Cam. I don't believe it.
Yeah, there was too much of that going on. And I'm going to give that a 6.
A 6. Is there anything to your guys' ranking that this was not as big of a play as these guys are making it?
I didn't realize the Oregon-Washington rivalry was that
I
huge.
didn't either.
I mean, Washington State, I thought was much bigger. The fans did go crazy.
They
mean,
did.
they stormed that field. It was pandemonium. It was outright bedlam there after that field goal was missed.
It felt bigger to Washington than it did to Oregon.
I think part of that's true. And the other part of it is the fact that he missed a field goal. I mean, the guy made it sound like it was a 7-yard field goal. I mean, it was still 42 yards. That is missable.
It looked
Especially in
like it
college.
was good too until maybe the last
Well,
like 10 yards.
I agree with Tony. A 6 is about right for this. It's you got to strike the right chord, and I just don't think the right chord was struck there.
So you're giving it a what?
6.
Sixes
Two
across the
sixes.
board.
All
Back-to-back
right.
6s. on that one.
Now we move into Houston. Remember last
Houston.
week, Houston, they were playing West Virginia. Sorry,
Oh,
completely.
we're talking college. Okay.
College football. My brain is just not working.
Hmm.
But Houston was playing, as I said, West Virginia. West Virginia was leading 39-35. It was 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Houston has the ball from midfield, and they're throwing up a prayer.
Back to pass. Donovan Smith. Smith steps up in the pocket, unloads it, throws it all the way downfield into the end zone. Tipped, and it is caught by the Cougars. Caught for a touchdown. Unbelievable. Caught by Stephon Johnson. The ball was tipped up in the air, and the Cougars win the game on the final play. Unreal. The Cougars, first ever Big 12 conference win.
So there you go, Chris. 1 to 10, rate that radio call.
I'll go a little better on that one. I thought he hit the right notes there. Description of the play was good.
Yep.
The setup was good. I kind of could picture the ball being tipped up in the air. His surprising reaction, I'll give him an 8.5, and then I'll take off a half for the color guy jumping in and screaming over him. But having been a color guy who jumped in and screamed over Ted Leitner a couple of times, I understand it, especially on a crazy play like that. I just wish that, color guys could let the play-by-play guys finish the call. But I give him a good solid 8. That seemed to strike the right chord for me.
Tony?
Yep, 8 for me as well. It's pretty apparent that there's different etiquette in football, college or NFL versus baseball in terms of play-by-play color man etiquette. I think it's almost baked in the cake that you have to yell. Almost.
Yeah, maybe so.
It
They
seems
seem
like we
it.
get it all
Yeah.
the time with football.
Ted Leitner didn't think so. When I yelled, he didn't think I was supposed to yell. He did not think I was supposed to do that.
He wasn't feeling that. Huh?
No, he wasn't. So, yeah. But, yeah, that was a pretty exciting play. I mean, that hit out of nowhere because it looked like West Virginia had that game won for sure.
Yes, it did. All right, let's go. I'm trying to.
Yes.
Where did you go for a moment?
I'm listening to other calls in my ear as you guys are talking, and so
yes. Yes, it did.
You guys remember when Bryce Harper hit that long home run against the Braves against Bryce
And
Elder?
my guys were standing on top of the roof. You talking about? Yes, I remember that.
Well, here's the Spanish version of that call, and here we go.
Viene el picheo, el batazo es inmenso y perfecto. Bryce Harper, 3-3 para Filadelfia que se van de arriba, 4 carreras por una.
All right, so I know we're an English-speaking show, but 1 to 10, rate that radio call, Tony.
It feels like it should be a 10.
Yes, it does definitely feel like it should be a 10.
I could only make out some of it, but it was on point. The energy was where it needed to be.
Always is, yeah.
And I made out 3-run homer.
Yeah. Bryce Harper.
Perfecto. Yeah, that was I get it at a 10.
All right, Chris, 1 to 10, rate that radio call.
I give it an once.
An once.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I love the Spanish calls, and when they're able to make it to where I can kind of understand part of it, and it's not just gibberish. Because a lot of times the Spanish broadcasters give it the and they kind of just go falling all over themselves.
Grady, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, now that's brilliant. Now that's
I hit that
our
home run off of Chris Ella.
That's Eduardo Ortega there. That's brilliant. But some of the Spanish broadcasters lose me by getting a little too crazy. I thought this one was perfectly restrained and perfectly exciting. Really good.
All right,
I could listen to that one again. It was so good.
You want to listen to it again?
Yeah, I liked it that
All
much.
right, let's hear it again.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Viene el picheo, el batazo es inmenso.
Immenso. It's an immense blast.
Perfecto.
I love that part. That's my favorite part of the whole
Money.
thing. So
Very good.
all right, next call is going to be another college football call. It's Western Kentucky and a team that we've bet on a few times here recently, Jacksonville State. It's tied, 4 seconds left. Jacksonville State is lining up for a field goal, and here it is.
Be a 41-yard attempt right in the middle of the field. Thomas Peterson will snap. The shift. Lines are set. Snap good. Hold good. Flag on the play. He slipped as he kicked it. The kick is good. Watch the flag.
If they were
Offside. He slipped as he kicked it into Roger.
Yeah, barely got over. Offside on the defense. Number 4. Penalties decline. Ball game is over.
Jacksonville State upsets Western Kentucky. The Gamecocks transitioning from FCS to FBS.
So there you go. That's Jacksonville State. The reason I'm playing this call is because I felt like that was a much bigger deal than they made it sound. So Chris, you're up. 1 to 10, rate that radio.
I give the actual play-by-play guys about a 4. I give the referee a 6.5.
Really?
He came in there nicely.
6.5.
Yeah. It was offside on the defense.
Ball
That's
game
declined. The ball game is over. That's what the play-by-play guy should have said. So
He didn't. He was like Jacksonville State.
don't
Lining
be
up
doing
for the
that.
field
There
goal.
he goes, making fun of people who have a twang.
I'm not
again.
making fun of anyone.
And I'm going to get stopped on the street by somebody who has a bit of a twang and say, you tell your producer not to make fun of us
Hey,
like that.
It's great.
You're grouping them
You're wading
all
in the waters that you're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, be careful.
I'm not making fun of anyone with
You
a southern
kind of
accent.
are.
like you are.
kind of are.
I'm not though. Tony, 1 to 10, rate that radio call.
he just bites off more than he can chew and keeps on.
I would
agree.
love to have a southern accent.
First of all, I was confused with all the different sound effects that were going on while that was happening.
Yeah, what was that
I
all
didn't
about?
know if we were like actually.
No, that was from the
that
game.
was from the game.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go with a 4, much like Chris did. Just overall, believe it at that.
Yeah, it
The
wasn't
referee's not gonna get it. He's not
No,
getting it.
Really?
no, being nice to the official.
Yeah, he was
there.
being nice to the official because he's a fellow official,
Yeah.
looking out for him. But yeah, no, this was a 4.
Did you know that he slipped when he kicked that ball?
I think I heard that.
All right, that's it for Rate the Radio call this week. Hopefully we get some good playoff baseball calls if any of these series get any closer.
Yeah.
That's when the calls
They've
become
kind
the
of
best.
the Phillies have sucked the drama out of this series so
Same with
far.
the Rangers.
Yeah, both of them. All right, 4 o'clock hour on the way. You know what that means. Chris versus the fans. 833-288-0973 when we return.
Chris, now streaming for your viewing enjoyment. Go to a YouTube channel, 973 The Fan, or catch it on Twitter, 973 The Fan SD, and type that search in there, and you'll find Gwynn and Chris broadcasting live, and you can watch here. We've been doing it all week. So far, I think the reviews have been mostly positive. Chris Ello here, Tony Gwynn Jr. over there, and Matt Scraby. He's the only one in the group that has any hair. But we're enjoying having a little TV time. I will say this: my wife chimed in, Lori Ello,
Okay, all right.
with a
Some
review.
advice?
With a review. I mean, she had a review of the telecast, and her review was, "Honey, I don't think you should drink a big gulp on camera." And I said, "Really? That's what you've taken from the TV?"
Were you
broadcast?"
sipping the big gulp while the show was going on? Like while the camera was
I
on?
get thirsty. I have a soda here, the big gulp. A couple of days a week. I don't have a big gulp every day, but some of the longer 4-hour shows
You need a
tend to
big
get a
gulp.
little extra thirsty.
You know,
Need a big gulp.
Need a big gulp.
Well,
Lori doesn't want me drinking a big gulp on camera. Thinks it's a bad look. So I apologize to all of you for the bad look of my big gulp being on camera. There
Take
you
a
have
drink
it.
for us. Take a drink for us.
All right.
Slurp it into the microphone
I'll
for
slurp
everybody.
one drink, and then Lori, she's probably listening right now, and she's shaking her head, going, "What am I going to do with this guy?"
Oh man, it almost took him out. It did take him out.
You got to be careful with that coke.
Yeah, maybe that's why she doesn't want you drinking a big gulp. You can't drink it. I actually
the
was
slurp caused problems.
I actually thought about the big gulp today while I was waiting for the bicyclists to move through their zone, and I thought, why don't you just buy sodas from home and put some ice in it, pour some soda in, and come over here?
I think we just got our answer.
Oh, because Lori doesn't want you drinking
Lori's-
soda?
Doesn't want to bring big gulps.
No, I like. You had to make me slurp the thing, didn't you?
Who would have knew that slurping would cause so much problem?
It's causing an issue. All right, let's get to Chris versus the fans.
Oh my
Before I lose it.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
Howdy do.
now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
I think that's our first big moment on the stream that you had to witness. But Chris, we have a couple things. Ryan says that's not part of the diet, Chris. Chris is no longer on the diet.
And that's why my wife said that it would be a bad look.
Ah,
But you're not on the diet anymore.
That's true.
You're maintaining now.
because you stopped talking to Chris, let him get him. He's trying to clear his throat. Man.
And the
You're
other,
killing him.
well, this question is for Chris. So
Yes.
it says, where is your lid and straw? Which I wondered too, because we're in a radio studio.
My what?
Lid and straw.
Oh yeah. It's in the other room.
My goodness. I
My
didn't
goodness.
realize that taking a sip of Diet Coke would have put him on the IL.
My God, I might be done for the show, guys. You may have to carry us home today.
All right, why don't I read the prize? Because I know that Chris is going to have trouble reading the prize at the moment. You'll be qualified for the grand prize, a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas
God,
Resort.
everybody watching can see me coughing too. Right?
You
This
can't
is so
hide.
wonderful. Yeah, there's nowhere to
Can't
go.
hide. And tickets to Frankie Valli. Catch the legendary Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons live in concert at the International Theater at Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. This show is a must-see for any fan of classic rock and roll. Get tickets and VIP packages now at Ticketmaster.com. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations, bringing back legendary Vegas fun. And also, if you win Chris versus the fans today, I'm going to make a stipulation. You cannot win a pair of Adam Carolla tickets unless you make it through the 3 questions, because I don't think it's fair for someone to win on the tiebreaker. So if you win the 3-question version of the game, you receive the qualification to Vegas. You also will receive a pair of tickets to see Adam Carolla at Belly Up on January 7th. Tickets are on sale now at bellyup.com.
So you're going to hang on to the tickets if we have a a tiebreaker again?
Yes, we're gonna be giving away later.
What
in the
brought
show.
you to this conclusion? But did somebody complain?
No, I was thinking about it on the way home, and I thought these are highly priced tickets. We have to make people work for them. So
there you go. Want to make it equal for everybody.
yeah, that's kind of what I do here. I'm the fair guy over here.
Yeah, when I think of fairness, I think of scraping.
All right,
let's get to our first contestant.
I may be okay in about a half an hour, but I'm gonna soldier.
Usually
on.
it's your granola bar that you
or
eat.
the crackers,
or the crackers.
Neither of those. It was actual liquid.
Okay.
And it's all on camera, and my wife is watching, and
she was like, "I told you."
Oh, she's gonna blow me up when I get home.
Ricardo says, "Hello from Tijuana. Nice knowing the faces behind the voices. Thank you,
What's up, Ricardo?
Thanks, Ricardo.
Let's go with Jason. Jason, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Pretty good.
Well,
Pretty
I think
good.
two of the three of us are doing well. One's
Well, I'll tell you, Mrs. Ello, she's a very, very smart lady, so you should listen to her, Chris.
Yeah, you should, Chris.
I have listened to her for the better part of 30 plus years, and that's how I've made it this far. But
he tried to veer off the path
today
for
I veered
a
off
second.
the path, and it cost me.
I got so daring as to ask Chris to take a drink of Diet Coke on the air.
All right, here we go. First question.
Oh, wait, I forgot one of the parts of the game. If you're a first-time player, let us know before the first question, and you get it for free this time. Jason, I will ask you.
I am not.
Okay, all right.
All right, Jason, here we go. What did the Taco Bell Chihuahua say during the commercials?
Oh boy. Gotcha. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Stay there. Stay
That's
there.
a good one. I'm trying to think. I can't remember what he used to say.
I love this Chihuahua.
Give me some of that meat. I can't remember what he used to say.
Give me some meat.
No, he didn't say that. I can't remember what he said, so I'm gonna have to take a. That's a good.
Jason,
good deal
you
for
advanced
Jason.
around
So you
number
advanced.
2. What the Chihuahua said was, "Yo quiero Taco Bell."
Oh,
Thank you,
yo quiero
Tony.
Taco Bell. Very well done, Tony. You could have been the voice of that Chihuahua.
He could have been.
Here we go. Question number 2. Question number 2.
Wait, where did Jason go?
Oh,
Jason.
Oh, he probably thought he lost because he missed the question.
No.
Yeah.
Nah, he's a veteran player.
Yeah, he should
Yeah.
have known.
All
Just because
right,
you
we're
missed
gonna-
the question doesn't mean I'm going to get
We're
it
going
right.
to look out for you, Jason, but give us a
Yeah.
call
All right,
back,
we'll have to go to a
please.
new
Oh, wait.
contestant.
Oh, Jason is back. Here we go. Sorry, Jason. I don't know what happened, but you're back. Here we go.
All right, you're still alive.
right,
You're
great.
on to question 2.
Question number 2. Who is the oldest golfer to ever win a major?
Let's go with Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
I think he said Jack Nicholson.
He did.
Stay there.
Well, I was going to go with Jack Nicholas, so I'll stay with that.
Jack Nicholas.
Wow.
Also incorrect.
Oh, Nicholson.
Yeah.
Got them both. Yeah. He did it at 50. Yeah.
Well,
all right. Got it.
Jason,
Jason, I missed 2.
you're into the round of 3.
Wow.
Yeah, you're all good.
Here we go.
For the victory without getting a question right, maybe.
What quarterback started the first game for the Colts after? That can't be right. What quarterback started the first game for the Colts after the departure of Peyton Manning?
What's wrong with that?
Ooh.
I'm going to miss this one too, so I think you're good, Jason. You're going to win them all.
You know what? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that either.
Stay there. Really? Are you saying this is too hard of a question, Tony?
I'm saying I don't think the answer's
I don't know
right.
that it's hard. I just don't know.
No, the
it.
answer's right. I
I
checked the
don't-
box score.
I don't know who
There is-
it was.
Like
so.
when Peyton Manning was no longer the
first
quarterback.
game after Peyton Manning left the team.
It's very rare that Tony has an issue with
Yeah,
your,
yeah. I was
with your
confused.
question.
Now I'm second guessing myself, which is what I do.
All right. Well, I don't have a good answer. Andrew Luck. That's the only Colt quarterback I can even name. Jason, you just won without getting a
Wow.
question right.
Yes.
Congratulations.
That
It
is
doesn't
a
happen
great
very
way.
often.
Stay there, Jason.
So the answer, according to Scrabe and the box scores that he looked at,
Yeah.
is Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins went to the Colts, huh? Okay.
Was he still in the league when Peyton Manning ended? There's no way.
Kerry Collins is older than Peyton Manning.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm going back to make sure that he played
So
for
he
the Colts.
played-
Hold on, Jason.
Either
Well,
way,
Jason's
Jason
already
wins.
won,
So
'cause I didn't
Jason,
get
you,
it
I know,
right.
that's what I'm saying.
you're
Hold on.
good.
Unless the answer turns out to be Andrew Luck, in which case he has not won.
I see. It was the final year of his career. Kerry Collins.
Final year of Kerry Collins' career, he played for the Colts.
He played for the
did play
Colts.
for the Colts.
He was
And he took over for
39 years
Peyton
old. He
Manning.
went 0-3, played 3 games, and that was it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very good. Jason, that is like a rarity, but it does happen. It's not the first time it's ever happened that I have missed all 3 questions and a contestant is advanced, but that is exactly why you out there should play Chris versus the Fans, because you don't even need to be a trivia expert. You can still end up qualifying for a trip to Las Vegas, as Jason just did. Nice job.
Nice work, Jason. As you said, not very often that someone gets all the way through.
Now I gotta go
with Chris missing all of the questions.
Now I gotta go to Peyton Manning's football reference just to make sure.
And now you're questioning it.
Well, you guys make me question my answers all the time just because of the
I
past.
usually stay out of the questioning game, but Kerry Collins, I knew he was older than Peyton.
Yes, but okay, so
I believe you. You said he played 3 games. That sounds like it's possible.
He did, but Peyton Manning, I believe, was still on the Colts with an injured neck. He didn't play the entire season, but his
so the way you asked that
Yes.
question departed, that would have been
yes, and then he went to
incorrect.
Denver in 2012, but still.
All right,
Kerry
so who started
Collins.
for the Colts in 2012 in the first game? I'm just
That
curious.
would have been after he departed. I think that's
That would have
luck.
been after he departed.
I think that's luck.
Well, if it's Andrew Luck, then I'm still going to give Jason the title, but I just want to
Games and
see.
schedule 2012 Indianapolis Colts. They lost to the Bears.
And the starting quarterback
And
was
the starting quarterback was
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck.
All right, so I just wanted officially on the record that I did not miss all
You
the
did
questions. Although, Jason, we're not going to take it away from you. We already said you're a winner.
Would your
so-
answer?
If you would have asked a
Well,
different
that's what I was
question-
answering. I was not answering who took over for him mid-season. I know Andrew Luck didn't take over in the mid-season. He was obviously a rookie starter.
Well, this wasn't even mid-season, right? Because
No.
he started the year with the neck injury.
He was on the Colts.
He was still on the roster, though, so he hadn't departed.
But he was
I
out
honestly
for the
did not
entire
know
year.
the answer to this question, but the
Yeah.
way I took the question to mean was when Peyton Manning departed to
when
go
he was
to
with the Denver Broncos,
departed
Right.
Indianapolis, who was their first starting quarterback?
Yes, that was the intention of the question.
Then the actual answer was Andrew Luck.
Wrong.
You intended that to be the correct answer.
The correct answer was
which
Kerry
you would-
Collins.
which
So I
you
would
should
I
have
should have
asked-
asked it different.
What you should have asked is, in Peyton Manning's last season as a Colt, who was the starting quarterback?
That's a good way of asking it.
Boom.
Well, you didn't ask it right. I answered it right.
I'm
Jason was
taking
the
the
one who
fall
benefits
over
in the
here.
end. I know.
Okay.
I'm
Let's
just
get to-
making sure that people don't put it on the record that I missed all 3 questions.
That's what he's worried about.
That's what I'm worried about. Yes. I want to make sure that's not in play.
All right.
Oh, let's take a break while we sort it all out and Jason collects his riches. We come back. More Gwynn and Chris is ahead. And first we have to check some traffic, and then we will be back to let you know what in the world is next.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Lowe's. Got a few problems here. Eastbound
It's also that time of year where the NFL makes things tougher on the NFL. You might be wondering what I'm talking about. Well, they've made it pretty difficult over time for the defenses to tackle. Scraby, your camera really has a mind of its own right now.
It's just going in circles.
They are about to ban a specific type of tackle, and those who had Tony Pollard, those who have trying to think of some other guys who've been tackled this way.
Well, I know Tony Pollard's the big one because it happened last year in the playoffs against the 49ers.
And it's that tackle from behind where you kind of wrap the hips and like drop your body. And a lot of times it ends up on the foot, ankle of said player. The No Fun League is about to ban this tackle.
Another 15-yard penalty, because that's what the league needs more of, is more 15-yard penalties after almost every play.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that the NFL was paying attention to the games this weekend. The 49er Browns game was the chief problem. Was there 25 penalties in that game?
Oh, in that game, there was over 20. And there was also over 20 in the Monday night.
Yeah, the Monday night game. I mean, I think the NFL, you got to have a bunch of rules. I get it.
Patrick Mahomes was tackled like that in the playoffs.
But efforting to have more rules and have another reason to give the defense a 15-yard penalty, that's going to upset some people, right? And so this is the tackle where you grab a guy, then you sit down.
Yeah, they call it the hip drop.
And so you kind of pull him down as you're sitting down. Seems like an effective way to make a tackle. I mean, you're going to start making these guys, first of all, well, okay.
Where were you going with that?
Where I'm going with that is that Tom Brady, actually, of all people, said that the league is becoming too soft.
Football. Yes, big fun.
And I thought, Tom Brady is saying that?
I mean, listen, Tom came up. There was the interesting thing about the NFL right now is it's 2023. It wasn't maybe 8 years ago that the NFL was like a completely different league where you had the likes of Ray Lewis still in the league, who,
Patrick
Willis. I know that was one of your guys there.
I love him.
But you had, linebackers that made it fearful for wide receivers to come across the middle. There was a reason why there weren't very many guys who caught balls over the middle of the field. You notice now it's like a wide open game over the middle of the field. The middle of the field is used as much as the outside of the hashes as it used to be. And so it's just a different game at this point. And it's because in some ways, I think the NFL, although they fall short of this more often than not, they are definitely trying to make the league safer. Now, we can argue, at times, when it hurts their pocketbook, are they trying to make it safe? I don't know that that's necessarily the case all the time, but these rules, you can't argue, have made the game safer,
I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
If the goal is to make it safer, they've definitely made it safer. They've also made it very hard for defensive players to play.
Which is why the offense is skyrocketed, right? And it's funny, we were just talking about this last week. We probably had some of the lowest scores we've had in the NFL in quite some time.
That's true.
And here they are about to
as soon as that happens, the NFL's like panicking.
Take away the hip drop.
Because only 7 teams scored over 20 points this past week out of 30. That's really a low number for the NFL. I'm just afraid the NFL is going to become, I know you want to see flag football in the Olympics. I don't want to see it on Sunday afternoons. And, there's got to be some way for defenses to stop an offense. And I mean, if you're worried about your form now on every tackle, you're already worried about how you hit somebody.
It used to be that you were worried about the form for safety reasons, like keep your head up.
Right, you don't want to hurt yourself.
But now you're worried about form because, it's still safety reasons, I guess, but it's not for the actual player tackling.
When are they going to just come out? When is the official going to come out and come to the microphone and go, personal foul? The guy just simply hit him too hard. 15 yards, first down.
I thought you were going to say the
because
referee.
That's really the penalty is just hitting the 49er guy the other day. Not to ever stick up for you, but I know
exactly what play you're talking about.
I'm agreeing with you all day today, which is so strange. but the 49er guy put a really hard lick on the Cleveland guy, and I don't remember the players.
With his shoulder.
But he hit him clearly with his shoulder. He did everything he could to avoid being illegal, but he still got the 15.
I mean, that call in particular is so difficult because it's a moving target. A guy is falling. You're coming full speed.
Wow.
You're not going to be able to line your shoulder up every time.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It's a tough one.
Do you guys think, and I know I don't want to slow down the game any more than it already is, but they have the expedited review and they talk about that on the broadcast. But do you think that these should be reviewed quickly by the referee upstairs? Because it is costing games for teams. And I'm not just talking about the 49ers. I'm talking about the overall game is suffering because of this.
Yeah, but you can still say that was a penalty on the 49er guy for hitting a defenseless receiver, hitting him honestly too hard. I mean, when there's a violent collision, a flag comes out now.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes in the NFL. And like I said,
You're
the actual
almost
penalties.
you're surprised when a flag doesn't come out on
for
our
sure.
league.
I mean, I don't know what they can do other than, let them start playing football again, but then guys are just going to be getting hurt way worse.
Do you think it's
we
because
can't afford that?
Do you think guys are just bigger, faster, stronger
They
now?
are. Yes.
Because it seemed when we were watching Dick Butkus highlights, like he was going helmet to helmet and just destroying people.
He also was the one that was bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else too.
Yeah.
Can't make a Dick Butkus rule.
Right. It's like it's not his fault. He's bigger
I mean,
than
Jack
everybody
Tatum and George Atkinson, you got to watch some of the videos of these guys with the
I've seen
Raiders
them.
in the secondary.
Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott, but Lynn Swann, the Hall of Fame Steeler wide receiver, he used to run across the middle of the field just minding his own business, and George Atkinson would just clothesline him.
Yeah,
and there would be no flag.
See, that's crazy.
I don't even know if there was a penalty from the league office for that.
I love the way he said
And they interviewed George Atkinson. They always interview George. He was, and they interviewed George Atkinson like that. Slipped, whatever. I mean,
I
it's just
slipped.
It's just incredible the kind of stuff that used to happen in the NFL that you could not even remotely.
Do you guys
now?
Because I was talking to my dad about this over the weekend, but big hits like that. Like I used to stand on my feet and go, yeah, and cheer. And now I'm like, oh, gosh.
I think we could thank the 08 Pittsburgh. I was watching a clip of
Willis McGahee.
No, not of Willis McGahee. The 08 Steelers. I was watching a clip of Mike Tomlin. And, he's on the coaches rules committee.
Oh.
He said that defense is what put the committee together in the first place. Because if you remember, I mean, they had what was big man's name that was always he's still
Harrison.
James Harrison. He was literally trying to decapitate people as they came across. Remember, he was like Superman tackling people. Like he
had
was
Troy Polamalu too,
and they had Troy the human.
Oh my
torpedo.
Yeah, he really was.
So I mean, they had to do something because. Those guys were
but I also want to see, like, if an offensive player hits a defensive player, I want to see that penalty. I want, because they could say, oh, it was just a block. I can't remember.
There's not as many opportunities, right? Because you can't do the crackback.
No, you can't do that anymore.
Like if a guy is not involved in the play, you can't just, because it used to be when the offense or somebody turned the ball over. You were just looking to lay somebody out. They could be 60 yards away from the play.
That was the most fun.
You're looking to crush somebody.
Alan Lazard got one the other day on a sweep.
You're right,
Jets.
he did.
The safety wasn't looking, turned around, ran into Alan Lazard's block, but it was deemed to be a blindside crackback block, and they called it.
Yeah.
Chris,
I mean, these officials are calling everything right now. It's hard to get through it. Almost every play in the NFL, you have to wait a second to celebrate it.
You do.
You don't know if it's going to count.
Do you remember the Chuck Bednarik hit on Frank Gifford?
Chuck Bednarik is his name.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a layout of all time.
I got to look at this.
Poor Frank Gifford, back with the New York Football Giants in the day, and he came across the middle and got hit with a forearm shiv underneath the chin strap. And for lack of a better term, people watching the play thought Frank Gifford had expired. That was it. And Chuck Bednarik just stood over Frank Gifford. There's a famous picture of it. I know.
I'm looking at it right now, and it does look like he expired.
They thought his time had ended, huh?
Yeah, he just collapsed on the field right there in a heap. And I don't remember how long Frank Gifford was out. Maybe the whole next year. I mean, that's how hard of a hit it was.
This goes back to like grainy.
Yeah. I don't know if
black and white.
I don't know if there's footage of the
There
actual
is. I'm
hit.
watching
Is
it.
there actual footage of it?
I'm watching the breakdown of it right now. All you need to do is just type in Frank Gifford hit.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't look.
It probably doesn't look as bad as
because
a lot of the
it's
stuff
old
we see now.
cameras.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you see that
Not
his
to mention
arm.
they weren't moving as fast as these guys are moving today.
True, but Frank Gifford's arm does the I've
straighten out thing?
expired.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just falls to the ground.
He was concussed. Then.
He was definitely concussed.
He was out for a long, long time after that hit. I don't remember exactly what point in the season that happened, but I'm sure he missed the rest of that season, and I think some of the next season from that hit by Chuck Bednarik, who was a two-way player and a Hall of Famer for the Philadelphia Eagles. Big-time hitter.
Leave it to a Philly native.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a Philly native, but he's in Philly.
He was a Philly guy.
Let's get to break. When we come back, Scraby's Big Five. What in the world does Micah Parsons have to say now? You have to stick around to find out. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
My old that. I want that. I want to see grinding and taking the extra back.
Chuck Bednarik on Frank Gifford. Welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby. 4:38 is the time. Big Five coming in a second. Chuck Bednarik, first of all, was a first-round draft choice, number 1 pick overall. So he came into the league with a lot of fanfare. Ended up winning 2 NFL championships with the Eagles. He was on the all-time 100th anniversary team in the NFL. So Chuck Bednarik, pretty decorated player in the Hall of Fame for sure. But he hit Frank Gifford with that tackle on November 20th of 1960. Gifford did not play again until 1962. Imagine knocking the guy out for over a year and a half. That's how hard the hit was. Frank Gifford said it was a clean hit, said he hit me the way I would have liked to have hit him. No penalty was called on the play. Bednarik was seen standing over Frank Gifford in the famous photo. Some people took it as if he was celebrating. Bednarik said he was only celebrating the fact that Gifford fumbled and the Eagles recovered and went on to win that game and eventually that 1960 NFL championship. So there you have it. Of course, everybody in my day and age knows Frank Gifford being the play-by-play voice of Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
But
that's how I know him.
Yeah, he was quite a player for the New York Giants as a halfback. And I'm almost I don't even think I really need to look it up. Frank Gifford's in the Hall of Fame as well as a player. So anyway, one of the more famous moments in NFL history.
Scraper, I think you and I should change cameras.
Why?
Because your camera follows you.
Well,
Tony wants to be followed.
I want my camera to follow me.
When you guys get up, though, your cameras do follow you, but they follow you out the door. They just don't follow you back in the door.
This camera has not moved all day.
Oh, I see what's going on. I see what you're saying.
Because my camera moves when I get up.
Yeah, my camera doesn't move at all. See,
I've told Tony not to unplug it. It's not moving. Doesn't like you. My camera loves me. All
Whatever.
right.
Get to the Big Five.
Traffic first.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, a 15-minute instant drive-through oil change. Just a couple problems here. Eastbound King Freeway, Home Avenue. There's a collision blocking the slow lane. And an accident has cleared on the coastline northbound 5 before the racetrack, but we are still seeing a huge amount of residual slowing behind that. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts. Locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. Again, if you want to see us, go to Twitter at 97.3 The Fan SD. We're live there. We're also live on YouTube. Just type in 97.3 The Fan, and that'll help you get to our live stream as well. People on the live stream are very complimentary of us right now, so thank you for being complimentary because I was worried I'd just get a lot of mean things said.
They'll probably turn at some point.
Okay.
We're getting like the beginner's luck right now.
I don't know about
from the
that.
viewers.
All right.
Thank you out there for all of that. Didn't somebody text you and say that the stream kind of stunk and that they could do a whole lot better job if you just brought them in?
No, they just chatted that, and I'm
I see. You didn't pay any attention.
No, I didn't. Actually.
All right, good.
All right, here we go. The stream is going through some growing pains.
Number 5.
Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel did his weekly press conference. It was asked about his quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. And the question was about if Tua's success is tied to the offensive system that McDaniel has created. Here is Mike McDaniel's answer.
My answer to that would be who the F cares, because it is a team. We're working together, and I know one thing. I've coached stuff a long time. I haven't seen people do what our guys do, and I mean, in a lot of experiences, to their credit, to their ability and their commitment to their craft. Like, I know.
All right. Well, he goes on and on and on and on and on and on about that.
Yeah, he kind of got lost there.
He did. But here's what I'm going to ask. I bring that up to bring this up. What is it? Wednesday, Chris? What are your thoughts on the system quarterback comment?
The system quarterback that so Tua couldn't play for somebody else.
Same with Brock Purdy.
Well, I don't think it's a system for either guy. I think it's the talent around these guys that is allowing them to flourish. So I don't know about the system at all. I mean, Brock Purdy flourishes because he can throw the ball to McCaffrey and he can throw it to Samuel and he can hand off to these guys, and he's got an offensive line that paves the way for these guys to gain a ton of yardage. Miami, Tua can throw it up there and Tyreek Hill can take it 70 yards in the blink of an eye. And I don't know, is it a system that hands it off to a rookie running back who runs 80 yards in 6 seconds? I just think it's the talent of the guys around them. So I don't know about the system. I'm not enough of a football X's and O's guys to comment. And it doesn't sound like Mike McDaniels is either, because he got a little tongue-tied on that one. Yeah.
Here's my
Guess
question.
what? It went on for another minute 45.
Wouldn't it have been easier just to be like, no, Tua can play quarterback wherever system he's in? Wouldn't that have been easier just to say that? As
I think
opposed
he
to
has
doing,
said that a million times, though.
Well, he didn't say it there. He was just like, I think it's a team sport. And
the one thing I will say, Tony, because I watch
different things,
but I watch a lot of his press conferences as a Dolphin fan, and he tries to be a comedian. He's very funny when he hits on one.
He missed on that one.
But he missed badly on that one. And it sounded like he was just searching for something funny to say, and it never
came
got
to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's where he got
there.
being lost.
Yes, you have. Great. You're there quite often as a
But sometimes Mike McDaniel has some funny lines.
I just feel like that was
one
of the questions where you could be funny. Like,
that wasn't good.
Especially with all the questions coming into the season about Tua and can he stay healthy, and to not answer that question, or to answer it in the way that he did, I think will only lead to that question coming up again,
especially after they scored 9 points this Sunday against the Eagles.
Right.
Number 4.
Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys defensive end, has a podcast, and he usually ends up talking about some of the hot topics around the NFL. This week, he is taking aim at the media for how they handle certain things. Here is Micah Parsons on his podcast. Here is Micah Parsons on his podcast.
I just don't condone the bashing of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys and have the same energy for the Eagles. We want the same energy for everybody, because there's a whole bunch of bashing when it's Dak Prescott, but not the same when it's the Eagles. I got time today. A lot of people said the Browns defense was overhyped. I said the Browns are the real deal. Acho said this, which pissed me off. I'm not worried about the 49ers. They were missing Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. The Browns were missing Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb. They were missing them key factors before the game even started. So why is it that we are just scrubs and we're nobodies that don't deserve to be on the field and we're just all talk? But there's 100 excuses for these other teams. If y'all just want to hate Cowboys Nation, just say y'all hate Cowboys Nation. I'm tired of people trashing my quarterback. I'm tired of people trashing my team. And that's why I had nothing to say to the media this week. You want to hear me talk? Come to hear me talk on The Edge Monday night. And that's
So he gets a shameless plug in at the end, which is why I think he's doing this. But Tony, you're up first on this one. Do you think the media unfairly criticizes the Cowboys?
Maybe, but they're America's team.
Hey, thank you.
Oh my God, dude, play some footballs. Why are you paying attention to what Acho is saying on ESPN?
Yeah.
And you know what really irritated me about this was he really is talking about Jalen Hurts. You remember that stuff that went back last year and he was popping off and the Eagles went there and spanked his booty?
Yes.
He wouldn't say his name, but he kept referring to his quarterback and he kept saying he didn't say quarterback, but their guys, he kept saying. But he was clearly
yes, I do
referring
remember
to
this. I think
Jalen
we
Hurts.
Played it in the Big Five.
Jalen Hurts' poor game. And he wondered, why is Dak getting it? Well, Dak also got paid a whole lot of money a few years back after breaking a leg, and he hasn't lived up to that. And, you know, the last thing is, if you don't like it, You can go play in like Carolina.
Try that for a year.
They definitely won't talk about you like this. The media won't say nothing at all. You can go to Arizona. Promise you, media won't say anything.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I mean, listen, it's heavy is the head that holds the crown, and he is perhaps the best defensive player in the league, and he plays with a star in his helmet. So guess what? I don't like that the media talks about the Cowboys all the time, but ever since I was a little boy and can remember watching sports, the Cowboys are always talked about no matter who's on the roster. So get used to it, young buck.
Chris, do you think the media unfairly criticizes the Cowboys?
I don't, for every reason that Tony said. I'm not trying to evade the question. He said exactly what I would say. I mean, try Carolina for a year and get back to
Minnesota,
me. Let me know how
maybe?
you like playing in obscurity.
Tennessee.
I mean, this is Dallas, man. It's like the New York Yankees of football.
Right. You don't hear.
You're going to get a little extra attention. You're also going to get on the Sunday night and Monday night game a whole lot more than every other team.
Right.
I'm so over that.
And guess what? Your Edge podcast is probably going to get more clicks on it because you play for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Nobody's listening to the Carolina edge rusher, and nobody can name who it is.
That is true. I am not going to go seek out the Carolina Edge Rusher podcast.
Right.
Again, we don't know who that is. But yeah, there you go. Micah.
I think another thing is Micah is complaining about something every week.
He is. I think I should be the co-host on his podcast.
I think you guys
we would just complain.
Blossoming partnership.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. The only problem is he's a Cowboy.
Number 3.
Which would make it even better.
Yeah.
Cowboy Niner.
Why are you crying about my team? SoFi Stadium in the Los Angeles area looks set to miss out on hosting 2026 World Cup matches. The arena, or the stadium, was previously one of 11 total in the United States hosting games at the upcoming tournament. However, a significant dispute between the owners of the stadium and FIFA appears to have delayed those plans or scrapped those plans altogether. According to ESPN...
Scuppered?
I don't know where that came from. That's why I jumped over it. Sometimes I see an article and I copy and paste, and then I just change it around to how I did. But then I didn't change out the word scuppered. I've never heard that word in my life.
Scuppered these plans.
According to ESPN, FIFA will not allow games at the 2026 World Cup at SoFi Stadium. The decision comes down to an ongoing feud between the organization and Kroenke Sports and Entertainment. Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Rams, also owns SoFi. So this is all about money. Chris, is the World Cup an event that needs to be in LA?
How many World Cups have they had to this point?
I think 0, maybe. I don't know.
What are you talking about? They've had
yeah.
hundreds of World. No, I'm talking about, does the World Cup need to be in LA? I say no.
Okay.
The World Cup's been held throughout the world for 100 years. Los Angeles has hosted what, one?
Yep. Big facts.
I think the Rose Bowl had the final there in '94. United States played Brazil there. No, they don't need Los Angeles. There's other huge venues that they can play in around the world that, I'm sure Los Angeles would like them, but World Cup's bigger than LA.
Tony, is the World Cup an event that needs to be in LA?
No, it does not. It will survive. It has survived and will continue to survive without LA. And the beauty of it is there's a bunch of stadiums in the United States that can still do a World Cup without LA.
Put it in Carolina and let Micah Parsons throw out the first kick.
I'm sure Jerry's World wouldn't mind having.
I think they're in the mix.
I'm sure they are.
And guess what? Jerry's World will also put grass down instead of the turf that they have because FIFA will not play on any other surface except for grass. So
good on them.
Number 2.
There have been rumors that ESPN would merge with Amazon Prime to extend their offering to customers. But according to a report, ESPN is looking at a tech and digital company like Apple as one of its partners and a mobile platform company like Verizon. Working with the tech company gives ESPN the opportunity to become a pre-installed application on its devices, whether that be with Apple, Google, or Microsoft. And a mobile company allows ESPN the opportunity to explore more options to be included into the phone contracts, according to the New York Post. So, I know some cars come pre-installed with certain apps that you can listen. Like if the Odyssey app was pre-installed, it just gives you More
That's not a real
customers.
thing yet.
Not yet, but I hope it is one day. Tony, is there a point where ESPN would lose you as a customer?
No, probably not.
No.
I'm just saying it. They're trying to make it easier for the consumer right here, right? They don't even want you to have to download the app. They want
No, it's going to come on your
whatever
phone.
you get, it already comes with ESPN ready to roll on there.
Yeah, you turn on your phone, ESPN's right
For
there.
a sports guy like me, that means a lot. That I don't have to do more work to get more whatever I'm looking for.
If you had a Google phone, you would be able to just download your apps just like you had on
Why
your old
in
phone.
the world would I want a Google phone?
Because it's better than the iPhone.
You see who ESPN is trying to partner with.
Apple and Google.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Chris, is there a point where ESPN would lose you as a customer? And I know the answer to this one.
Okay, let's move on then.
Absolutely not. Chris will pay whatever they want
They
him to
sent me
pay.
a rate increase today for
What?
the
Really?
for
They
the
sure
whatever the website is or the ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
What's
They
the
sent
increase?
I didn't read it. I'll
You
just
just
pay
clicked
it.
yes?
I'll just pay it.
I'm in for it.
How am I going to not have ESPN? I already survived like a month without it earlier when they went off the Spectrum
Yes.
cable, but nah, it's
Chris, you should reread that. I believe it says you have to give your right arm for ESPN.
Well,
Take
Too
it?
late.
Okay.
as long as I can see the games.
Number 1.
All right, we talked about this last segment, but Tom Brady is retired and he seems to be staying retired, but he's not done with football. He is still watching a lot of football like any other fan. He is not a fan, however, of the penalties called on the defense. On his podcast, Get Up, he said, quote, football is a physical sport. There's a physical element to all of this. You throw a 15-yard flag for something that, 20 years ago maybe wouldn't have had a flag. That affects the game in a big way. Chris, does Tom Brady's opinion fall flat because of how officials protected him?
It kind of does. I mean, it was my first thought when I saw these comments from Tom Brady, and my first thought was probably wouldn't have half these rules if it wasn't for you. I don't know. Brady played a tough game. I mean, he took some shots, but he got protected better than any other quarterback in the history of the game. But now he knows our frustration. I mean, as a Dolphin fan, every time we tackled him, it cost us 15 yards. I started rooting for them not to sack him at all.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, just let him throw the ball and beat us. And he did. So, yeah, this kind of doesn't hold water 100% to me.
Tony?
No, I don't think it falls flat. I think Tom played in that period of time where he caught like half of the career with old football that these penalties wouldn't have been called, in the last half of his career where it probably got easier for him because of the rules and how they did protect the quarterback. So I think he's qualified to have this conversation and be critical.
He probably is qualified also because he was sacked 565 times in his career.
Just once or twice.
Which might be more than any other quarterback in the history of the sport. So,
all right, that's it for the Big Five. When we get back, there are 2 Padres up for 3 Gold Gloves. We think. We'll explain when we get back on 97 through the Fan.
It's air versus water when 2 of our service academies face off. The Navy midshipmen will 97.3 The Fan.
Into the happy hour we go. 5:01 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. You don't need a magic spell to make this Halloween stress-free and fun. Pick up Halloween in one trip at Smart and Final and use promo code 3FREE, the number 3, then free, all one word, for free delivery on your next 3 orders of $45 or more. Padres, 3 Gold Glove finalists, 2 people. Yes, Ha-Seong Kim is up for 2 spots, second base and utility role.
Yeah, second year of the utility Gold Glove, and Ha-Seong could be the first guy ever to win 2 Gold Gloves at one time.
We're not sure if that's an actual.
We're not
thing.
100% sure on the utility thing because it's very strange the way it's listed on Baseball Reference right now.
But he is up for 2 along with Mookie Betts. So I mean, I guess theoretically they could walk away with 2 Gold Gloves.
Yeah.
I don't know how that
Betts
works.
could win 2 also because he's up in right field along with Fernando in right field. And also for utility, the shocking news is at third base. First Manny got left out. Yeah, what else is new? They just take Manny for granted, I guess, every year. Okay, he's only the best, slickest fielding third baseman any of us have ever seen.
That boy clean.
So let's just gloss right over him for the Gold Glove Award every year. Then give it to Nolan Arenado. Only this year they're not giving it to Nolan Arenado because after 10 years straight of winning a Gold Glove, Arenado's not even a finalist in the National League.
Not even a final.
No.
I really want to go back and kind of figure out what it is exactly that they look at for this award. Because I know most people just assume has very little to do with errors, by the way. Here we go. To determine the winners at the 9 standard positions, the 30 MLB managers and up to 6 coaches for each team vote from a pool of players in their league, excluding players from their own team. These votes comprise of 75% of the selection total, with the Saber Defense Index counting for the other 25%. So this is coming from coaches and managers and up to 6 coaches on each team. So they're the ones voting. That's 75% of the vote. And then the other 25%, they do use the Saber Defense Index counting.
I don't get how they do it. To me, it's just an eye test, and nobody's better than Manny. That's it. That's my whole argument. I'm sticking to it, Your Honor. Why should Manny Machado win the Gold Glove? Watch him play. I don't have any other explanation for why I think he should win a Gold Glove, but yet again, he does not. By the way, Trent Grisham's reign as 2-year center field Gold Glover will also come to an end. Trent did not make the finals at center field. A couple of rookies, I think, got in
Brenton
there. Doyle and Alec Thomas.
He's not a rookie. He was up last year, but
all right.
Those 3 guys can certainly go get it. Right field, you got Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis, Lane Thomas. Catcher, you got Patrick Bailey, Gabriel Moreno, and JT Realmuto. Where was left field? Oh, here we go. Ian Happ, David Peralta, who wasn't even an everyday guy, and Eddie Rosario.
Interesting. Eddie Rosario was kind of a platoon guy as well.
So. Interesting.
Yeah. At third base, did you give third base? Because that's the one without Arenado.
Third base, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Ryan McMahon, Austin Riley.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Those 3 guys better never see any of the 3 make an error like the rest of their career. I want to see perfection from those 3 guys. If all 3 of those guys are somehow better than Manny and Arenado.
For the first time since Chase Headley won in 2012, the NL will have Gold Glove Award winner not named Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
See, Ke'Bryan Hayes, plus 17 outs above average, 21 defensive runs saved. McMahon 11 to 17 in those same numbers. Riley had here. This is going to really piss Chris off right here. Riley had 0 outs above average,
0
and 9 defensive runs saved.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They use these categories kind of on a whim.
See, but this actually
right.
This is the 25% of the vote. The other 75%, I would assume, is the eye test that you're talking about.
The eye test
coaches.
I'm talking about, which somehow Manny seems to miss out on.
You wonder if there is I don't want to say a grudge, because I don't know that many of these managers know Manny.
Yeah,
what
did Manny do?
But is this a reputation thing? Like, what is? I don't understand. If especially when it's the coaches that are watching, they really felt like he wasn't.
God, I mean, I would, if I was an opposing manager. I mean, every time the ball goes anywhere near third base, the guy's out.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's just because we see it all the time, but I mean. I see a lot of Austin Riley. I see a lot of Ryan McMahon. I don't see them making the plays consistently like Manny. And it's maybe the thing that kills Manny is he makes it look so effortless.
There might be something to do it, right?
Maybe that's what holds him back.
The smooth operator needs to not be so smooth. He needs to be like, because Nolan, every time he's, it looks
like he's making a hard play.
Looks difficult.
Yeah, man, he just gets a ball, runs over to the third base dugout, and underhands it to the first baseman's glove. And you're like, okay. And Jesse goes, well, there's another one of those plays. Tony hangs the star out, and we move on. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
You look like you were rounding in to say something.
No, the YouTube stream, Brandon says Machado should be a finalist, even in a down offensive year. Yeah, offensive year, he was still playing Gold Glove third base.
I will say, today, more than in the past, for sure, they don't use the offense. Like, there was a time where if you were a bad man offensively and you just caught the ball, you were going to win a Gold Glove.
That defeats the purpose of a
Gold Glove.
But
it's no longer like that, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying they actually are picking guys who are really good defensive players.
Brianna,
before you used to have to be both. Like, in order to get a Gold Glove, you also had to
crazy
be swinging the stick a little bit.
Brianna is asking, is it because of Manny's quote unquote attitude?
I don't know. They're at this point, Manny's got 10, 11 years in the big leagues at this point. Like, move on. If
people know what
that's the problem,
if that's the problem.
Like,
I don't know. I don't really have a good answer.
Let me ask you a weird question.
A weird one? Do I want to hear it?
Yes, you do. I am not trying to make fun of you, but in your career, you played the outfield. Were you close to a Gold Glove? What would you have needed to do to get a Gold Glove?
I got some votes. In 2010.
All right, that was the Padres
Gold Glove. Yeah,
he did not ever win a Gold Glove, but he did have a speaking glove.
I definitely had.
He could talk to people in the outfield with his glove.
No, I got some votes. I think that year I didn't end up playing on an everyday basis, is what eventually I think. But I played good enough defense that year to be considered for one. I just wasn't out there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting to just be considered for one. I
didn't have the defensive run saved or any of that stuff.
Didn't have all those categories.
And it wasn't when you fell on the turf monster. And it wasn't that season when you fell in Toronto.
All right. Why does he do stuff like that?
Chris, you weren't here, but we got into a whole thing about Tony falling with the turf monster.
You had people
Toronto.
you had people posting it on X and everything.
Yeah,
man.
it was pretty funny. Funny.
Why do you guys do that to poor Tony?
Because
Gwynn Jr.?
we all wish that we could have had the opportunity to
Major
get.
League ball player.
That's what I'm saying.
I gotta say, I didn't look very professional in that clip.
So
right there.
what?
It was one clip of many things that you did at the big league
I coughed up
level.
a lung on the air about a half an hour ago. So many of us don't look professional all the times in our chosen fields of employee.
Scraby, weird question equals normal for him, apparently. So do I need to not say I'm about to ask a weird question, or should I just
You
go
should just
for
ask it. You
Okay.
should just ask it. That way I can't get my defense mechanism.
Well,
up.
because I don't want you to be like
First of all,
or anyone.
First of all, I don't think that you are a mean-spirited person,
Okay.
so I wouldn't immediately.
Tony,
jump
why
in.
didn't you ever win a Gold Glove? Were you a terrible big league outfielder?
Oh,
We already
God.
know that's not true.
I know.
We know he was smooth. He was a smooth operator out there.
Smooth operator.
Yeah. Poor Manny.
Sade.
Manny left out of the old Gold Glove again. So away we go with game number 3 of the Astros and Rangers. They're underway. Altuve hit the first pitch of the game, Tony, 417 feet to left field. unfortunately needed 418 feet to get it
Yeah,
out of the
right
yard.
up against the wall.
It was caught at the fence, and Scherzer got through the rest of the inning. Rangers now batting in the bottom of the first
Scrape,
with no score.
I've been wanting to ask you about this because we've been quiet on golf lately, but see Phil Mickelson is stirring the pot again with Liv, and he's saying that there's few spaces for a lot of people that want to come over to Liv. You think he's bluffing here?
No.
You think he's telling the truth?
You think a lot of people want to go over to the Live Tour?
I don't think a lot want to go,
He
but
said
I think
more than there are spaces available.
it's probably true at
think
this point.
So you're saying, so it sounds like there's about 3 or 4 spaces. So you're saying there's more than that wanting to go over.
Because there's got to be guys that are just hovering around the cut line every week that are like, man, it would be much
Do you
less
still
stressful.
think the PGA has better talent overall than Liv?
I do. And I was reading over the weekend that Rory McIlroy, I guess, was like blindsided by the PGA Tour announcing their intentions to join up with Liv. But
Clearly, he was quite pissed for like about 2 months.
I think he still is.
He might be.
Because he put his entire career and his whole persona out there in defending the PGA Tour, and then they ended up saying that they're going to join with Liv, which, by the way, isn't exactly still happening.
It hasn't worked. Here's the other thing that's interesting. Initially, in that agreement between Liv and the PGA Tour, Liv could no longer recruit their players, but because of the U.S. government getting involved because of antitrust issues, that language had to be removed. So
interesting.
I wonder, does this thing get a little more funky now?
Yes.
Does anybody know the reasoning why there are open spots in Live and how it all works? I didn't realize that guys can get relegated out of Live if they don't perform well
I
enough.
believe that Brooks Koepka's little brother, or
he's one of them.
He's one of them who got relegated.
Relegated out of the league.
Yeah, he has a brother who was
in Live.
Chase
and
Koepka.
PGA Tour as well.
Yeah, there's 4 guys I've never heard of here: Chase Koepka, James Piot, Jed Morgan, and Siwon Kim.
They're getting the boot.
I've heard
all
of
in
Kim.
line to be relegated from the league because their finishes in the individual points race, they can get back into the league if they finish in the top 3 promotion tournament later this year. But Live evidently operates with a system where if you don't perform well enough, you can't be in Live anymore.
I don't really care about that.
I don't either. The reason I don't care is because if you're going to go play and Live, then we're just not going to know anything. It's to me, it's like a tree falling in the forest.
If it wasn't Brooks Koepka and he hadn't been, kind of mingling with the PGA Tour, I would have known what he had done. I know he just won the last event that they had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I didn't see any clips of it though.
I think it was Liv Jetta.
Any highlights of it? Does ESPN, like on a Sunday afternoon, show the highlights from the final round?
I don't watch ESPN, so I don't know.
I don't think they do.
You don't watch ESPN?
I don't watch unless we're in here. Well, I mean, I watch it for Monday Night Football, but I'm not going to watch it for anything else.
Back to what I've always said about you, Scrape.
Yeah, you're not.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
You like sports.
He likes sports. He doesn't
I'm
love
it. I'm just saying.
So because I don't watch the terrible programming that ESPN puts out, it makes me upset.
Not a terrible program. Sports Center's
everything you know what I do when I want to
say ESPN? It's Sports Center.
You know what I want to do when I go and need some scores? I go to CBSSports.com, MLB.com.
Why?
I do go to ESPN.com.
Why
because I could just because I don't want to go
because you like sports. That's
because
why.
I don't want to click on ESPN.
You like
wait for the ticker to come by. I could just go to the website or go to my app and find the score.
You like sports. I respect that though.
It's so funny. I can go to ESPN app
that.
and find all the scores that quickly too. So why do you choose not to go to ESPN? I think, and I'm just guessing, having known you the way I do, I think you refuse to go to ESPN for any viewing or any information on the internet because they're the biggest dog in the game and you don't want to support the biggest company out there.
He wants to support little brother.
He does. He doesn't like, you don't like people that are successful. You don't like people that make a ton of money.
That's not
and
true.
you certainly don't like businesses that have monopolies on the rest of the world. You refuse to support them.
That is 100% true.
Okay.
I cannot stand when there are monopolies out there.
I was right. So you don't,
I was right.
I was. If ESPN had girls on trampolines, you wouldn't tune in because they are the world leader in sports coverage.
I am past that in my life, Chris. I don't objectify anymore. That was
How
back
come I
when
know? How come I'm feeling that last night you went home and looked up old clips of the Man Show?
I
Since we were
didn't-
talking about it on here.
Just don't check my history about the Man Show, okay?
All
All right.
You guys are crazy. All right, let's get to break. Let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the way. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
All right, welcome back. Gwynn and Chris. 5:22 is the time. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby together in the Odyssey Palace, which you can clearly see. It's kind of a messy palace, but, you know, it's home, and we love it. You can see it if you're watching the streaming of the program, which is now available on YouTube, 97.3 The Fan SD, 97.3 The Fan SD, easier to find that way. Also can catch it 97.3 The Fan SD on Twitter. Astros and Rangers, little rally for the Astros in the top of the second inning. They've loaded the bases with one out against Max Scherzer. There is no score. We'll keep you up to date with that ball game. NLCS travel day. Phillies and Diamondbacks heading to Phoenix for Game 3 tomorrow. Phillies, of course, enjoy a 2-0 series lead. I asked you guys this last week and got kind of a tepid response. How excited are you for the college football season this year? And I asked, even though myself, haven't really been that excited. I did watch a lot of the Washington-Oregon game.
Yeah,
Thought that was a pretty good ball game. I watched some USC and Notre Dame. The Trojans' defense just is not there. I mean, what did they give up? 48 points to Notre Dame? Notre Dame didn't have much offense, not that much offense. But anyway, I think college football, they got to get the rankings out. I mean, like the real rankings, not the preseason rankings. And I think that starts next week. But at least there's finally a good game this week.
I think I'm just finally to a point with college football is I'm almost just wait till a certain part of the year to start paying attention because they don't play anybody early. Everybody's, for the most part, I mean, as you mentioned, Washington, Oregon was like the first.
That was one of the first really good games that there's been.
I watched really the Colorado games because Dion was there.
Me too.
And outside of that, I haven't paid much attention. But I know as the season gets, thicker and deeper and we start talking about the actual playoff rankings, then I'll start paying a little bit more attention. But right now, I haven't got quite locked in yet.
Other than Texas playing Alabama in week 2 or 3, Washington, Oregon last week. I mean, Georgia hasn't played a game worth a darn yet. Michigan hasn't played a game worth a darn yet, and they're the top 2 ranked teams. And I mean, these teams have – that's the problem with the preseason rankings that we've discussed in the past. For Georgia and Michigan, there is nothing to gain by beating a good team.
Right.
There's only something to lose because they're already in the college football playoff without having to beat anybody. So they don't schedule anybody. And then Georgia hides behind this whole, well, we're in the SEC thing. And so we play a tough schedule as it is. They don't play anybody even in the SEC. They don't play Alabama.
There's a legitimate argument to be made right now that the Pac-12 is a tougher league than the SEC right now.
I would agree with you, Tony. I think you bring up an excellent point.
I mean, with Oregon, Washington, USC.
There's more teams ranked in the Pac-12, and it's funny because the Pac-12 is going away at the end of the season.
None of them will be the Pac-12.
It's an interesting swan song the conference is having. But, I mean, Michigan's schedule borders on embarrassing for a top-ranked team. East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, which sounds good but isn't, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, Purdue are both terrible. Finally, Michigan will play Penn State in week 10. I mean, that's 9 gimmies before they even play a game that matters. I just can't get into that. That's just not exciting enough. So, but there is a good game, I guess. Penn State, Ohio State do play each other this week, so something to watch. The Aztecs will be taking on Nevada. We'll have some tickets to give away to that game tomorrow on the program.
We also have Kirk Kenny.
Kirk Kenny will break it all down for us.
He's going to let us know.
Got a boy, Kirk.
Everything we need to know.
Kirk is the guy.
Astros just took a 3-0 lead, ladies and gentlemen.
They did. A good start for the Astros in game number 2. They got a wild pitch, scored 1 run as Alvarez was hit by a pitch to open the inning.
Hitting the back foot.
Yeah. Came around to scoring a wild pitch and then a 2-run single.
Martin Maldonado.
By, of all people, Martin Maldonado. I mean, Maldonado, he gets about a hit every couple of years, but that's what makes the Astros, right? A guy like that comes up with a big hit when they really needed it.
It's so funny. I have to I'll do a hit with Houston tomorrow, and I can't wait to give them so much drama about Maldonado because they often are asking why is he still in the lineup, and I say the same thing. His pitchers want him in the lineup. He's proven to be a pretty good guy behind the plate. You can live with the offense when you got the offense you got, and now he's producing offense. So I can't wait to bring that up to him.
Yeah. Well, he also hit 15 home runs this year, so it wasn't. He was an automatic out. But if you make a mistake, he'll hurt you.
Did you talk to the Atlanta station yet?
No, my last one was last week, just before they got eliminated.
So they won't have you on after?
They don't have you to
They
recap?
have moved on to the Falcons now.
Oh, that is
wow.
wow.
I wish you could dance on the Braves' grave a little bit.
Well, that's exactly why they're not having them on.
Well, I wouldn't dance on the grave anyway. I want to be welcome back at some point.
So they're just sweeping the Braves season under the rug.
I'm sure they're talking about it, just not talking about it with me.
Because they don't want to hear the truth.
How many other cities do you appear in on a weekly basis, Scrape?
Oh, I thought you were looking at Tony.
Scrape, are you in demand?
Anybody on the stream outside of San Diego?
Because I'm not in demand anywhere. I don't think anybody's called to interview me with their radio station since we've been together.
I'm an Odyssey insider.
Program. Yeah, they want Tony Gwynn Jr.
Odyssey insider.
Yeah, they want the inside scoop from Tony Gwynn Jr. We get it. We get it even without asking.
We get it when we don't ask. We also I got an email from them offering me Tony Gwynn Jr. to talk about the Padres season.
That's always my favorite. Yes.
I did.
He gets an email at least once a year from Odyssey offering me up to his show.
Hey, Matt, I was just wondering, because you guys are in San Diego, would you like to have Tony Gwynn Jr. on the show to talk about the Padres? And I'm like,
it honestly took Scraby and I about 6 or 7 times to tell him, that's the show he is a part of.
Yeah,
it's his show.
Yeah. And
before they figured it out.
I always email back saying, no, we got plenty of Tony.
So tomorrow the show will be myself, Kirk Kenny, and you, Scraby, with special guest appearance by Tony Gwynn Jr.
True.
For the other 2.5 hours.
On the stream, I'm seeing that you did a hit in Baltimore.
I have.
Oh, okay. All right. That's from Dominic.
Yeah.
Someone's listening or watching from Texas. So I guess, Chris, we're
Dallas.
in Texas.
Good.
What? Okay. Without you getting yourself in trouble with all these other cities, what city is the most, I'm just going to say, whiny?
None of those cities are actually that whiny. And they really didn't have a lot to be whiny about, right? The Braves were the best team in baseball. Astros, they've done this so I got off pretty easy when it comes to the cities being, whiny about their squads. When I did Dallas, it was last year before these guys kind of took place and are where they are, and they couldn't wait to get to the off season because they knew they were going to be in the running for DeGrom.
Didn't earlier this year Atlanta, they lost like 3 games or something, and they were like, should we worry?
They were like 45 games above 500. Asking if they should worry, but I guess maybe they knew something I did.
Yeah, tell them now. They can worry now. WNBA Finals, New York Liberty lead the Las Vegas Aces 22-13. Final minute of the first quarter. The Liberty needs to win that game to force a deciding Game 5. Aces are trying to wrap up their second consecutive championship. But the Liberty have the early lead there. The Astros, as Tony mentioned, 3-0 over the Rangers. Texas now batting in the bottom of the second. Gwynn and Chris with more to come.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
But I don't think I ever
night. Back at it again tomorrow. Short show. Thursday night football is.
It's kind of a nondescript affair.
No, I
think
so.
it is.
Okay, tell us.
The Jaguars and the Saints.
Nondescript.
Jaguars are interesting to watch. The Saints, I have no interest in watching.
Chris Olave, San Diego
Alvin
kid,
Kamara
playing for the
Do
Saints.
you have either of those guys?
I do. And
Who cares about Alvin Kamara? Why would we care about him?
He's on my fantasy team.
I'm bringing up Chris Olave because at least he's a San Diego guy.
He's
Jacksonville has a fun little
Jamal
team,
Agnew's a USD guy. I believe he's on the
go.
Jacksonville Jaguars
Yeah,
team.
I think you're right. That's the Thursday night game. Sunday night, Dolphins, Eagles. That's a little better game. Although I got some disturbing or concerning news today as a Dolphin fan.
I was going to say disturbing.
Yeah, disturbing's not the right word for a football game. But Xavier Howard may not play in this game with a groin injury.
Number 4 is going to have to take over.
That means number 4, who the Bills annihilated in that game a couple of weeks ago, is going to be in there again.
The sad part is I don't know what number 4's name is, but I do know what the back of his jersey looks like.
Because he was chasing Diggs that entire game. Yeah, Miami could be. I mean, Philadelphia's got a pretty good offense too. I know Miami comes with all of the bells and whistles, but if Miami doesn't have either of their cornerbacks, and we know Jalen Ramsey's not going to be ready, that could be easy pickings for Jalen Hurts.
Altuve went ahead and hit it that one extra foot that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't homer in the first, but he did this time.
Solo 4-0 in the third. The Max Scherzer experience not going well to start.
Not too well.
What
for
was
Bruce
our bet?
Bochy.
I guess I could go look at the.
He's got to get 5 innings in to beat our.
It don't look like he's gonna get there.
Doesn't look like he's gonna make it.
Do we think that Max Scherzer is done?
I don't think he's done. I think. Do we have back-to-back?
Is he done?
No,
No,
I don't think he's done. I think what I'm watching right now is the same guy who. I mean, he's got still good, decent velocity. He just is not locating the baseball. And one of the things that happens when you don't pitch, that's the first thing that goes is being able to locate. And it's a heck of a spot to not be locating against
this stadium
this team too.
Is an offensive palace if you're hitting the ball well. Scherzer, what did he go this year? 4-2 with a 3.20 ERA. For Texas, overall he was 13-6, 3.77.
That's really not a bad.
That's really not too bad for a guy that's supposedly you're saying he's done. Yeah, I don't think he's done.
I don't think he's done. I just think
he's got something left. It'd be nice if he could settle in with one team. I mean, this guy's played for Washington, Dodgers, Mets.
He's become a mercenary
Texas in the last month and a half.
He's become a mercenary.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
He's chasing the chip.
Yeah.
And this in baseball, I would say it's probably harder than any of the other sports. Maybe football's up there too, but
yeah, I think Scherzer needs to settle in somewhere.
I gotta say, I like the in-game interviews. As soon as Jose Altuve gets off the field, they have a microphone in his face.
Well, they
reserved this for the postseason. I think
they get the interview in before they show the replay of the home run.
Yeah, we still haven't seen a replay.
No.
Oh, I saw it. You were.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't looking because
Yeah.
I have a job to do. Speaking of job to
Wow.
do, let's go ahead and get you to that. Russ Dorsey interview.
Shots fired.
Here's the traffic.
97.3 The Fan Traffic Center. Here's Kelly Danick.
Tow trucks on scene of a crash involving a couple vehicles on the Coronado Bridge. This is heading over to the island near the old toll plaza. We're seeing just a little jam up there. Speeds back to normal eastbound King Freeway to clear this accident at Home Avenue. Crash clearing on the Palomar Airport Road off-ramp, South 5 Coastline. And Kelly Danick, Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And talking more Major League Baseball playoffs. Very happy to be joined right now by Bally Sports and the program The Rally. Mr. Russell Dorsey joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Russ, I don't know, we're 2 games into the ALCS and NLCS, and it looks like we can start making World Series reservations. Do you see anything getting in the way now of a Rangers-Phillies World Series?
Well, I'll start on the National League side. I think we are all in agreement as a baseball industry that the Phillies are a thing, and they have that look in their eyes, and especially offensively. The fact that they have 14 homers in their last 4 games, they have 19 homers this postseason. They had 24 all of last season, and they would have played 9 more games last year. It's kind of wild when you think of this offense and how they are improved from last year. And the fact that you're getting the best out of Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos, who they basically got nothing from all of last year, and they're playing with so much confidence and flair and energy that when you have those big moments in the game, you know they're going to do something. So on that side, as fun as the D-backs have been, I thought that they would have to win 2 games at Citizens Bank Ballpark to move past the Phillies. And when you lose the Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly starts, it makes the math that much harder. And then on the other side for the Astros, I do think because they've been there 7 consecutive times, they probably have had their backs against the wall before, as we've seen on their way to winning a couple World Series titles. So it's important to win Game 3. I think this is as much must win as you can get because you don't want to go down in somebody else's building 3-0. But I'm confident for a team that has been there and done that, they're going to play their best game tonight.
Russ, let's go back to that Philadelphia series, and Bryce Harper is one of the main guys leading the way. What would a World Series title at this point do for a guy like Bryce Harper? He's already lived up to expectation. The expectation that was gargantuan, maybe only under LeBron James in terms of time that he spent in the limelight. What does a world title do for a guy like Bryce Harper?
It cements the legacy, right? Like, to your point, it's a guy who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16 years old. Like, if he wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP, it's bust, right? The guy failed, and he's done all those things. The only thing he hasn't done is win that World Series title. He got his team there last year, hitting the biggest homer of his life to seal the deal against, unfortunately, the San Diego Padres. But it was a monumental moment for his career. And I think we are seeing one of the best to do it in the biggest moments. The things that, unfortunately, we would like to see from a guy like a Mike Trout, we're seeing from Bryce Harper. Right. And the World Series title only cements that legacy for a guy who will be in Cooperstown one day.
What do you make of Kyle Schwarber, Russell? I mean, this guy, a 197 batting average. He seems like the ultimate analytics player, you know? I mean, it's either strikeout or walk or home run. And in the postseason, it seems like more times than not, it's that home run. I mean, you know, you give up a home run to this guy or 1 or 2 it seems like if you hold him to 1, you've held him down. And I just don't know what you do with a guy like this. If you're the Phillies, you ride the wave, I guess.
I think when you look at, for everybody out there looks at Kyle Schwarber, it's like you mentioned, 3 true outcomes, right? But I covered Kyle Schwarber when he was playing here in Chicago. I've gotten to know Kyle Schwarber over the years. And I think when looking at Kyle Schwarber on now his 4th team, and how he impacts winning, you can't quantify in numbers what Kyle Schwarber brings to the table. Now, obviously, you have a guy that can hit close to 50 home runs every year. That's something you can quantify. But what he brings to you from a culture standpoint, there's a reason that Kyle Schwarber has only missed the postseason 1 time in his big league career. It was 2019 when he was a member of the Chicago Cubs. That's a guy that you build around. That's a guy that's a significant leader, and it's a reason that teams wanted his services. It's a reason that the Boston Red Sox had so much success when he was there. It was a reason that the chemistry in Washington was there, even though they didn't win. And the fact that he went to a situation where he could impact winning in Philadelphia, I don't think it is a shock that the teams he's on that have success in the postseason, because the guy's a winner, right? He's just one of those guys where you say you're going to look back at the career. It might not be, it might not finish with him in Cooperstown, but you're going to say Kyle Schwarber was one of this generation's greatest winners and impacted that in a lot of different ways.
It's such a good point, Russ, because when you watch not only Kyle Schwarber, and I'm positive after being around people in the game that he has a big impact on what this team looks like when they're not in the batter's box, when they're not on the field. Like when you watch them in the dugout, this Philadelphia Philly team looks like, you hear it often that they genuinely enjoy and are pulling for one another. And it's kind of a throwback. You don't see teams that are that engaged with one another, it seems like, throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, and they're and I say this in a very respectable way, like they're like a travel ball team, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, we just gonna get off the bus, we having a good time, we hitting each other. Our coach got to tell us to focus before we go on the field because we're having that much fun. They are very much travel ball team, and you're getting the purest form of baseball out of them, and the fans know that too. That's why those crowds in Philly have been so crazy, because they've fallen in love with this Philadelphia Phillies team that started last year, and they didn't really have a lot of turnover. They actually added guys like Trey Turner to that mix, and you're seeing the best of them right now. And it's the reason that I think if they do what we think they're going to do and get to the World Series, I don't think that there's anybody this year that can beat them.
Russ Dorsey works for Bally Sports. You see him on the Rally television program. We've watched him over the years prior to Padre baseball games, and he joins us here. Let's take a look at the Rangers, and we've talked plenty about the Astros over time, and Yordan Alvarez continues to be remarkable. But the Rangers are led by Corey Seager, who himself is a World Series MVP. I don't know that he gets the same cachet as some of these other guys right now, but somebody's leading this Texas team on the field, because we know off the field it's Bruce Bochy. I mean, he's working his magic again, and I wonder what you feel from afar covering Bochy and maybe getting to know him some during the games. What you feel is the reason, or what works and it makes his magic tick?
I'll start with on the field, and I'll get into the dugout with Bruce Bochy. I think when you invest $500 million in Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, you have a plan that these two guys are going to be the centerpiece of what we do as a ball club, right? You give Corey Seager $325 million, you give Marcus Semien $175 million, and you say, all right, Marcus, you're going to be that leader, that guy in the clubhouse that guys can go to, the lead by example type of guy. Corey Seager, not really a big vocal guy, not really the rah-rah guy, just going to go out there and he's going to hit 315, going to hit 35 homers, drive in over 100, get 180 base hits. And honestly, guys, if it wasn't for the fact that he missed 40 games with a variety of different injuries earlier in the season, we could be talking about him, winning AL MVP over Shohei Ohtani. And so they've had those two guys lead the way for them. You get Adolis Garcia that has a career year. Nathaniel Lowe actually had a down year, but that was a guy who had a breakout for them last year. You get, Josh Young, who was in the running for AL Rookie of the Year before he got banged up. And then you add a kid in Evan Carter, who was a top 100 prospect, just got called up a little bit over a month ago, and is seeing all this for the first time. His first real taste of the big leagues is in the biggest stages in the sport. And that's a moment that can, get to a lot of guys. A lot of guys can't handle that, and he's rising to the occasion. And then I think when you look in the dugout, once you add all those players in like Seager and Semien, you say, who's going to be the guy to take this ball club to the next level? And I know there are a lot of people out there that don't necessarily feel like the manager has a lot of impact on how a team performs, but to have a guy in Bruce Bochy that has been there, that has done that has been in those big moments, that has been the leader of a team that's won 3 World Series titles in San Francisco with the Giants. And it's walking into a situation where like, all right, we have the pieces. We've invested the money. Now we need to go out there and do it. You're seeing a Rangers team where it wasn't always pretty throughout the season. They were the best team in baseball for about 5 months. And then for the last 2 months, we didn't know if they were going to make it to the postseason. And now that they're there, they're looking like the team that we all expected them to be.
Yeah, you look across the Final Four, all of the teams' personalities match their manager's personality. And that brings me to the other side of the field and Dusty Baker and the Houston Astros. I mean, you mentioned it before, this team has been in it 7 straight times. I don't think they'll blink. Why is it that I think everybody feels like this series is not over?
Yeah, I think that experience is invaluable, especially this time of year. Sometimes I do feel like we throw age around. Oh, this is a young team. We did it with the D-backs, and the D-backs were smoking everybody until they ran into a buzzsaw in the Philadelphia Phillies. But I think it is important for a team that has been in these moments, especially when their backs are against the wall, right? It's not comfortable being down 2-0. But knowing that, all right, we got a couple World Series in the tuck. We've been there 4 times in the last 8 years. We should be feeling really good about where we are, because this Rangers team, it's been a long time since they've been in these moments trying to get back to the World Series. if you're Alex Bregman or if you're Jose Altuve, you've been here before. You've had your back against the wall before. And for guys like, Kyle Tucker, right, Chaz McCormick, Yair Diaz, like all these guys Jeremy Pena, you got to grow up in this culture where even though you're younger, you now feel that same confidence and energy because it's been a culture of winning. And I think they are a team, because they have that experience, they're not going to get flustered. I would be very shocked if they got swept by the Texas Rangers. I just have a hard time believing that happened. But they have some guys that they haven't gotten their best from. I think the world of Kyle Tucker as a player, but they haven't gotten their best out of Kyle Tucker. Jose Altuve, same thing. Those guys combined for 6 for 47 through the first 2 games of that series. You need a lot better from that if you want to advance to the World Series.
Russ Dorsey, great stuff from Bally Sports, the television program, The Rally. And last thing, Russ, from afar or even from a close, because I know we've seen you out here in Southern California, what did you make of this Padres season of failure? And what do you make of what you think they should do, what would be best for this ball club moving forward? Obviously, they've made the decision to bring back A.J. Preller and Bob Melvin. They got some free agents they have to worry about, but what do you think about the direction of this team? Can they bounce back and put this year behind them with a big season next year?
They were the biggest enigma in baseball to me, where I, for the longest time, said they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. They're too talented. They're too talented. As you guys did there watching in San Diego.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
This team is far too talented to be playing the way that they are. And you can only do they're going to turn it around. They're going to flip the switch for so long before you look up, and it's September. And even in September, they had a mathematical shot to get into the postseason there at the end before they didn't. I still look at that team and I say, on paper, let's say you run this last season back 100 times. I don't think you have the same result, the same thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
However, it did happen. And I think having the messaging has to be the same, right? I think everybody has to be on the same page. And I think this is the last shot for this group. Now, who they add in the offseason, you have, Blake Snell, who is going to be the NL Cy Young winner, who was fantastic all year. Will he return? Will he go somewhere else? That's a big question. That's a big loss if Blake Snell, leaves and goes somewhere else. So they have some questions. They are still extremely talented. You still have the big boys there for you that should be able to carry you. But at the same time, this is their last shot. Like, if I have a hard time believing that you continue to run it back if it doesn't work over the first 4 months of the 2024 season.
Well, we will all hold our breath here in San Diego and hope it works out next time around. Russ, we appreciate the time. It's always great catching up with you. It's great meeting you last year at the winter meetings, and hope we get a chance to see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of the baseball playoffs, and thanks for all your great insight.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ. Russ Dorsey, Valley Sports. That's all the time we have for today. Back at it again tomorrow, Thursday night football, short show. Make sure you tune in.